Yes, squad. Oh, yes, we're going to get into it. Get in here, get in here. Yes, hello, everyone. Yes, load in, load in. We're about to disrupt a duopoly. I'm going live both on Dr. Ware's Instagram and YouTube, as well as my own, Angelica Ross, my own YouTube and Instagram. We are exponentially reaching out to all the audiences because, listen, y'all, it's time to disrupt the duopoly, okay? And I think even sometimes before you can even do that, like, I wish you know what? I need to make like that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a really quick just graphic here, because I'm your tech girl here. So I want to give you, I think we need to define what is a duopoly, because we just been talking about it. Hey, happiness, fo from Los Angeles. How you doing? Hi, the real Misha Milan. What's up, Kim She Swarm? Wait, what's that now? Kimmy Schwarm. Okay, now. Kimmy Schwaramos. Okay, I got that about right. What's up, everybody? Yes, joining here. Send the link to your friends. We're going to talk all about disrupting this duopoly, doing it for a good cause. We want to raise money for Dr. Butch Ware, and I'm going to give you a link where you can, this is a special link. Like, this ain't just any link. This is like the special link. This is like, it's kind of like a sneaky link, but it ain't sneaky. It's just a link. But I want to give you the link so that you can go and donate. Oops, not that. Copy the link, darling. Copy the link. There we go. And then go back over here. I'm going to have to turn on the light in a second because it's getting a little dark. It's stormy here where I'm at in Atlanta. So, and it's getting a little dark outside. So I just copied the link and posted it there. And I am going to pin this comment on Dr. Ware's thing. And then I'm going to come over here to mine. And let me see. How am I going to do this? Y'all, I'm running on 2 computers right now. I'm running on 2 computadoras. Dos computadoras. Yes, 2. Actually, I didn't know y'all. I don't know if y'all know, but I am pretty fluent in Spanish. Hola, mi gente. Mi nombre es Angelica Ross. Yo soy el director, el deputy de campaña. Is the campaign. Now, I might be doing some Spanglish in a second here. For Butch Ware's governor of California campaign, So I know it was a little English and Spanish in there, but stick with me. I know a lot of Spanish, you know what I'm saying? And the more I practice, the more it's going to work out for me. So I want to put this link in here in the chat over here for my folks too, but I think I'm locked out over here. Okay. So I'm going to get it for my folks over here too, but the link is zeffy.com. I think / we got a tiny URL actually. Don't we got a tiny URL? It's the tiny URL. Was it tiny.url? Let me go get this information, child. Let me see. Okay, so the tiny URL is on this flyer. There it is. Okay. So the tiny URL is tinyurl.com / disrupt the duopoly. So I'm going to put that over here so my friends can see over here too in the Instagrams. tinyurl.com / disrupt the duopoly. And if you use this link, that way I'll be able to tally how much money, not duopoly, duopoly. There we go. So I put that comment in there, and then I'm gonna go ahead and pin it there. So it's pinned on both Instagrams. On YouTube, I'm about to get y'all 1 second too, because I'm actually gonna put this on the screen. We're gonna go ahead and put this on the screen. Oh, we got people commenting and everything already. Look at this. Yes, excited to be here. Come on, Krista. Come on, Krista Renee. Is that what it is, Krista Renee? Come on, Jorge. I'm seeing the LGBTQIA colors. Jorge, thank you for showing up. Come on, Amanda Marie Brinkley. The Green Party needs more multi-streaming, more often, more supporters. It's a lot of setup. Girl, it's a lot of setup, ain't it? It's a lot of setup, but we are doing the damn thing. Rolando, good. Rolando, that's one of my subscribers. How you doing, Rolando? Good to see you. Good to see you, brother. Good to see you. Thank you for joining us. Amanda says, again, it would be nice if everyone would pay attention to California primaries. We need to do this forever because California really could be the front runner for the world, for leading America to a better United States. Here on that. Somebody said, here I am, just sitting here, minding my own business, respecting women. We love that, child. Thank you so much for being here and respecting women. Hi, everyone. Hope Butch wins. Yes. Oh, I'm not going to put that up there, but thank you for your comment on there. Good job, everybody. Okay, great. So we're all up here. We got people in the background. We are ahead of schedule, child. So since we're ahead of schedule, why don't I just go ahead and play y'all a little cute little video real quick? How about we do that? Well, let me play y'all a quick video real quick.
After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe about the two-party system. You take the red pill, you stay in Trump land, and he'll show you how deep the fascist rabbit hole goes. But then there's this, the green pill. The choice the system doesn't want you to know exists. It is the way, Neo. The path not funded by corporations and AIPAC. Remember, I'm offering you the truth, nothing more.
What is this place?
This is the construct. It's our loading program. We can load anything we want. You see, Neo, the red feeds your fears. The blue fuels your fantasies, but the green unveils the facts.
What facts?
That together we can build a better future. What you know as politics, Democrats, Republicans, that is the world that has been pulled over your eyes, a simulation of choice designed to keep you from learning the truth.
What truth?
That you are a slave, Neo. Like everyone else, you were born into a system that treats housing as a commodity and healthcare as a luxury. Welcome to the desert of the Duopoly.
Isn't this knowledge dangerous? Won't they come after us? Won't they say that we're wasting our votes?
Oh yes, now that you are free, they will target you.
But you're telling me that no matter what they say, a world with single-payer healthcare, with free education, without genocide or ICE is possible.
Yes, Neo, that is the green way.
And that's the path that we must traverse.
Yes, but there is a difference between knowing the path and walking the path. Free your mind.
Oh, I think we got more than one producer working for me. Thank you so much. I think both of us is clicking the remove button. Listen, free your mind. That's all you got to do. So first up in this conversation, we're going to bring this right in here. We're going to go ahead and bring Amon Caballo and Dr. Butch. We're both on here at the same time. We got Ahmed, who's a CEO and founder of African Stream. Baby, African Stream was my platform until they had deplatformed y'all. YouTube had deplatformed you all. Trying to silence the revolution. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Dr. Ware, for creating this space for us to put like minds together so we can disrupt this duopoly. I want to start right away with you, Ahmed, because you are across the pond. Am I right? Over in London?
No, I'm in Nairobi.
Oh, you're in Nairobi right now, Nairobi, Kenya, but you're on London time.
No, I'm in Nairobi time.
Nairobi time. Okay, they told me you was gonna be on London time, so
No. So it's
okay.
11 o'clock. So apologies for the pajamas and
no. Listen, show up however you can. We really appreciate it. So, can you just talk to us a little bit about like what was it for you that sort of woke you up to the ways in which American politics and the duopoly was not only affecting things in the United States, but with American imperialism and things going on around the world?
Perfect. Okay, so we could. What continent you want to start on? To start in the. I'm from Sudan, so let me just start with Sudan. If that's okay. So in 2020, in the lead up to the Biden-Donald Trump election, I interviewed Mohammed Faisal, who was the information minister of the transitional government of Sudan and the spokesman of the transitional government of Sudan. And I asked him a very simple question. I said, you guys told us you wouldn't normalize relations with Israel. You told us that this is a decision to be taken by an elected government and you are just a transitional government. So what changed? And he gave me one of the most honest answers. The answer was so honest that his assistant came into the shop, tried to stop the interview, and then he kind of batted him away. Wow. As if to say, like, no, I'm going to say what I want to say.
Wow.
And he basically said that in the lead up to the 2020 elections, Donald Trump administration was saying, these are the things that you need to do to have the state sponsor of terror designation lifted from Sudan. Yeah, one of them was compensate 9/11 victims. Another one, even though, you know, the 9/11 victims is the crazy one because the justification for that was Osama bin Laden was in Sudan before he went to Afghanistan, before any involvement. But also before he went to Afghanistan, he was also a close ally of the United States. So Sudan had to compensate 9/11 victims for having good relations with Osama bin Laden. Then certain US officials should also have to compensate 9/11 victims. But anyway, that's a conversation for another day. So they said you have to compensate 9/11 victims. You have to reform laws regarding around dress code, and you have to liberalize your economy. They were the three main conditions. And then the elections, I think in the US presidential elections happened in November. Around September, they said, no, you need to normalize relations with Israel. And the transitional government at the time pushed back and said, you know, this isn't our decision to make. This is to be made by an elected government. Also, us being put on a state sponsor of terror had nothing to do with Israel. So why us being lifted off the state sponsor of terror does it have something to do with Israel? But anyway, they spoke to economic advisors, and the economic advisors were like, the Sudanese economy is free falling at the moment. You could wait to the next election with Joe Biden and hope that Joe Biden gets in, but Joe Biden might come in and push through the same policy.
Right.
So reluctantly, they signed on to the Abraham Accords in 2020, and actually signing on to the Abraham Accords really delegitimized the transitional government, which only strengthened the armed groups, which was the army and the rapid support forces. And here we are many years later with both of those groups killing each other. And we've had, you know, one of the worst proxy wars that Africa's ever seen. We've got the world's worst humanitarian crisis, 14 million people displaced. So yeah, that's the duopoly in a nutshell. Trump is pushing for this to get elected. Biden will probably continue the same policy. So you might as well do something that's not within your national interest that was not part of any previous agreements. And yeah, that's Africa. But I can give you an example. In every region, we can go to.
Of course.
We can go to Asia. We can go to Asia. People
And weren't you removed, like with doing all this, you were removed from Instagram as well, weren't you?
Yes. We were removed
because I just remember watching, I was following the African stream, like there was like everything. I was reposting everything, and then there was a moment where it was like poof, gone.
Yeah. So yeah, great example. So, you know, in the lead up to the last election, 2020, was it 2024 elections, they were telling us, you know, Trump is the worst thing ever, and we got to stop him. We got to stop him. And the only way to stop him is to vote for a party of genocide. Yeah, that was the argument. Now, it was difficult for me to believe that argument, number one, because they were the party who were in charge when the genocide started, and not only did nothing to stop it, but supported, aided, and made cover for the genocidal regime in Tel Aviv. Secondly, it was the Democrats that went after us. Yeah. So it was interesting. So the first, before we were attacked and deplatformed, we had the Democrat adjacent media attack us.
Mm-hmm.
And we had NBC. They wrote an article and they say these 6 media entities are spreading disinformation to 40 million African Americans.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. And we were put alongside the Breakfast Club, Reza Islam from the Nation of Islam.
Meanwhile, we know Kamala love the Black Breakfast Club. Like that's where they love. They swear black media is led by the Breakfast Club, but now they the problem with African Stream. Okay.
Yeah. Who else was there? I think it's called the Shade Room.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they needed to be on that
Shade
list.
Room. And a few of us, I forget.
Wow, it was so wild. So I need to even just pause there for a second.
Yeah.
So for the people that are listening, the people in the comment sections, everything, I need y'all to understand that African Stream was being put in the same connotation of the way it is unhelpful would be the lightest way to put it. Disinformation, very toxic. That information that comes from the Shade Room and platforms like that, they associated that with African Stream, which was actually putting out information that pretty much was uniting us as Africans across the diaspora, was informing us on our history and the ways in which historical and current affairs were prohibiting our liberation. So where are you now? How was it recovering from? Because I don't think also people understand what it's like to be on the receiving end of being suppressed and eliminated by the system or by the duopoly, and still out here refusing to be silent. What does it look like for you now in African Stream now?
I mean, African Stream had to close down, unfortunately. So
right.
We set something else up called Sovereign Media, which I'm running now.
Mm-hmm.
It's a kind of a different focus. And yeah, and then we just got deplatformed off YouTube last week. Yeah. So we're based in Nairobi. There was the France Africa Summit, so-called Forward Africa Summit. On day one of the summit, we were deplatformed.
Wow.
Make of that what you will. But yeah, essentially with the deplatform African Stream, it was very clear that, you know, it's almost like that Joe Biden soundbite on the Breakfast Club, where he says, "If you don't support, you ain't black if you don't support me." Or I can't remember the exact quote that he said, but it was something along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
With us, it was, we're spreading disinformation to 40 million African Americans. They didn't cite a single example, but the examples for the others was all related to encouraging people not to vote for the Democrats. And if anyone followed African Stream or follows me or follows Sovereign Media, it's don't vote for the Democrats or don't vote for the Republicans, because two cheeks of the same backside, as far as we're
Yeah,
concerned.
or two wings of the same bird, and it's really just hard to wake up to that when you've invested so much into thinking that representation, when you see people like you in office willing to put, to do things, but then they're also using that skin or that identity to run for cover for the system. So before we let you go, thank you, because I know that it's in the middle of the night. I want to bring back on Dr. Ware just to kind of like, even just connect the dot, help us connect the dots between what Ahmed has experienced with African Stream, what the African perspective is, why he again is standing 10 toes down, asking for the disconnect with Israel, and yet here we are here too, trying to do the same thing. Can you connect the dots for us a little bit?
Yeah, and I'm first of all, Angelica, thank you for everything that you've done, for the campaign, and for our communities, for our diaspora communities, for our queer communities, for all of us. And then, Salaam alaikum, Brother Ahmed. It's really, I was honored when you agreed to participate in this. As you were speaking in the first volley, I was thinking of Julius Nyerere, first president of Tanzania, who said, of course, the United States is a one-party state, but with typical American extravagance, they have two of them. Right. And that this is really what we're up against with respect to the duopoly. And I just wanted to salute you, brother, for your revolutionary work and your ardor and your effort to make sure, especially at a moment, frankly, where Black American identity was being weaponized in service of white supremacist genocide in Gaza, that was actually also shielding white supremacist genocide in Sudan, because we then later learned that the Biden administration refused to put pressure on UAE regarding their backing of the genocide in Sudan, precisely because they needed UAE support in their normalization efforts with Israel. We can't call it as Muslims Israel, because Israel is a name of honor in the Quran, but the Zionist entity that shall remain nameless. So it really is deeply connected. And I just wanted to salute you, especially in that moment where Kamala Harris was being utilized to weaponize Blackness in service of white supremacy. And a lot of African Americans, unfortunately, were falling for a lot of nativist nonsense, so-called ADOS and so-called FBA, that you took up the mantle and with your comrades, enlightened and educated a whole new generation on what revolutionary Pan-Africanism really is, the commitment to anti-capitalism, the commitment to anti-imperialism, the commitment to struggle against white supremacy. So I guess the one thing that I just wanted to kind of ask you, in this moment, and it's a selfish question, how do you see the efforts that we are undertaking to try to break that duopoly here in the state of California as part of a broader, historical struggle for Pan-Africanist solidarity and liberation? That's my question.
Sure. I mean, the thing we have to clarify is when we talk about imperialism, some people mistake that for thinking we're anti-American. It couldn't be further from the truth. We love our African brothers and sisters in the US, and we love American people. We love the music, the movies. We think the US is full of great people. It's just being captured by a corrupt, fascistic, imperialist force. And every 4-8 years, it switches its tactic and its strategy, but the force remains the same. And so to take that boot off our neck, we need to change the system. How do we change the system? Can I change the system from here in Nairobi? Of course we can't. I mean, can my brothers and sisters change the system from Sudan? Of course we can't. We need progressives and real progressives, not people that run on the Democratic ticket, not the AOCs that votes for the Iron Domes, not the Mandanis that criticize Cuba and Venezuela, and all of a sudden criticize Hamas more than they criticize the settler colony. We need real revolutionaries to somehow gather the people in a people-led movement, organize, and managed to redirect all of that energy back to the people. Yeah, back to the people. And that's why we'll always support progressive movements, wherever they be, whether they be in the UK, whether they be in the US, whether they be in Germany, because we have no enemies in this world in terms of people. The only enemy that we have is the systems of oppression that too often unify under the banner of NATO, or unify under the UN Security Council, or unify under Southern Command or AFRICOM, or whatever formation, to oppress, extract, and subjugate people of the global South. And so you're trying to make an effort, and we salute you for that. To do it, to try and make an effort when all odds are against you, my brother. I salute you. I honestly do. I don't know. I'd have the energy. So when I see someone who's as energetic as you, and optimistic. When I say optimistic, I don't mean optimistic in the people. We are optimistic in the people, but we've seen what's happened. We see what's happened in the UK. In the UK, we've got currently the mainstream media, political parties trying to convince us that the Jewish leader of the Green Party is an anti-Semite. Yeah. and you're no disrespect to Zach Polanski, you're 10 times more radical than him. Yeah. So
on his most radical day. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So with you, it's like, it's not just the smears. They try to keep you off the ballot. They try to disqualify you completely. And so, yeah, we have to make a fuss about this. We have to do what we can. And you might be the sacrificial lamb for the next person to come after you, who will be able to get on the ballot, who people, who will be able to somehow get through the cracks and able to compete on the level playing field, because we've seen the obstacles that they've tried to throw in your way, and more power to you that you've not let that deter you.
Well, thank you so much, Amir, for joining us, for being a part of this movement, and understanding it's a global one, and that, the successes that happen over there can be our successes too. And the same here, the successes that we have breaking things up can actually have an effect around the world. So thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. We're going to bring on our next person as well.
We'll see you in Nairobi, brother Ahmed. I'm gonna have to come.
I'm definitely coming to Nairobi, because I'm actually doing a movie in Kenya. So coming up with a director there that's done something with Netflix, but we'll talk about that soon. Yes. Thank you for joining us. Dr. Word, someone said, someone in the comments had a question. They said, can you speak on the overuse of the term working class by non-working class representatives and organizers?
I mean, yeah, and I'll jump in with one other question from the comments as well, which was about how does the questions about foreign policy affect us as Californians? And I think that this is really actually critical, especially since we started this live with a colleague and a comrade in Nairobi, precisely because of the time difference. But anytime you have something go first, it's a statement of priority. I just want people to be clear that divesting from occupation and genocide is absolutely a critical concern for Californians and for California voters across the ideological spectrum. None of us want our tax dollars to be used to incinerate kids in other countries. We want our tax dollars to be used to feed and educate and heal kids and adults and disabled people, and take care of our folk here. And that as long as we don't make the organic connection between the abuse of our resources in never-ending foreign wars and our increasing impoverishment and disempowerment here inside the United States of America, then we will never be free. And one of those obstacles that keeps people from getting free is the performative use of fake class consciousness and working class aesthetics and sensibilities by people who are in a permanent state of war with the working class. That goes for Tom Steyer, the billionaire fake progressive. And just to be clear, there are no billionaire progressives. That's not a thing, right? And I need people
wait. Come on. Now, you telling me you can't be a billionaire and progressive?
And this fool is out here talking about that he's a class traitor. No, if you're actually a class traitor as a billionaire, then you become an unbillionaire, right? And you do not keep that money. So just to be clear,
A
there are
class traitor, Lord, if
there's no
I ain't
such thing as
never
a
heard of
billionaire
more.
class traitor. That's not real, right? And just to be clear, a similar effort is taking place with Javier Becerra, the predominant Latino candidate in the race, who is literally just 10 corporations in a trench coat, right? Meta,
Didn't Meta just give him $950,000?
and he's not the only one. There was another $1 million donation that came from through a PAC, through another large corporation. So just to be clear, is that the Democrat Party's goal is to play with the aesthetics and the words around working class and working class solidarity, because as Dylan Rodriguez, my colleague at UC Riverside, has beautifully said, the Democrat Party is the most effective counterinsurgency organization ever to emerge in human history. Their job is to expropriate and appropriate the energy of real working class populism and to distort it and to turn it to the ends of a capitalist, imperialist, white supremacist party. And we have to fight back. We have to. Yeah, but somebody put it in the chat. It was Uber. Yeah, Uber gave $1 million to Becerra as well.
So since you're here, and we're going to have up next, I think we're going to have Amani B. We've got there. So Amani, get ready in the back there. But since we're here and talking about the things, because people like to play in people's faces. But so because a lot has been circulating the internet these past couple of days, especially because you yourself, myself, people that we run with, like Consciously, and other folks have had accusations thrown at us of being like against Black women, even though I'm a Black woman, even though some of y'all don't. I know some of y'all don't see it for trans people. Dr. Ware is not one of them. Dr. Ware believes
women are women.
Trans women are women, trans men are men. You understand what I'm saying? But like when it comes to these identity politics, we have seen time and time again, people come in using even like I don't want to say dog whistles, but when I hear people use "I own the prize," and when I hear people use stuff like these things that are supposed to engender these emotions from us to help us to activate and do these things, and for folks to run so much cover for Democrats that the line of integrity keeps moving, because now you want to tell people what an endorsement is, even if whether it's official, not official. But what I do know is official is Cori Bush.
Yeah. So
yes.
Let me just be clear about this. People that are on this live will know what Malcolm means to me personally, and the way that I, kind of refer things back to Malcolm's example. Malcolm referred in the 1960s to the Black misleadership class. That's what he called it.
Yes,
he said, This is a class whose job and responsibility it is to keep Black people tethered to a Democrat Party that gives them nothing in return for their loyalty. So what we are witnessing today in 2026 is no different from what Malcolm criticized in the 1960s. The Black misleadership class, their job is to keep Black people on the Democrat plantation in perpetuity. And the reason why people like you and I and others, FD Signifier, who's been increasingly radical and revolutionary in his approach, who's also going to be on this call later, the reason why we're going to be subject to attacks is because the Democrat Party knows that it cannot survive so much as a single electoral cycle if it loses even 5% of the Black vote. They can't win an election for dog catcher without getting 80% of the Black vote. And what do we get in return for it? So understand that they will be at war with us because we are an existential threat. Because anytime a Black person repeats what Malcolm said, or Huey P. Newton said, or Assata Shakur, or James Baldwin, or Toni Morrison, any of our radical or revolutionary Black ancestors that everybody claims to respect, all knew that the Dems are ops.
Mhm.
And anybody in this generation that hits refresh on that wisdom is going to be attacked. And we have to be ready to stand in solidarity against those attacks, because it's not just Black liberation that is on the line in our revolutionary resolve and a refusal to submit to that. It is the collective liberation of humanity as a whole. Because if Black folks do not get out of the goddamn way and let an actual radical political option emerge, then we are going to be responsible for the ongoing oppression of queer people and of Chicano communities and of global communities in the global South that are being destroyed by Democrat administrations, just as they're being destroyed by Republican administrations. And I see our sister Imani B.
Yeah, I was going to say, because anybody that knows
feels about them Democrats. So let's get
anybody that knows about these Democrats, you know what I'm saying, and just like, you know, is not really here for the BS, for, you know, the throwing around of things, is our sister Imani B. Like, and what I love, Imani, thank you, number one, for just showing up anytime we call, anytime. It's not just anytime we call. I want to thank you for showing up for the call, period. Whether it's in DC, whether it's in Houston, whether it's in New Orleans, I know you, whether it's in Cuba, whether it's, you know what I mean, you will be 10 toes down. I want to know from you, because you and I sort of really cross paths through the House of Garcon. Mm-hmm. People don't understand. See, Dr. Ware, we're about to give you a little. See, this what people don't understand is that, like, when we talk about pose, when we talk about, you know, the ballroom community and things like that, what folks don't understand is that you can't automatically assign homophobia and transphobia like a blanket thing to Black communities, because that won't be the truth of the full story. Because there are cisgender, there are folks who have been all kinds of identities, that have been our sisters, brothers in this community, that have been our mothers when our biological mothers couldn't step in, you know. So I know you as my sister in the ballroom community under, you know, the Garcon, and we of course slay every runway that we, you know, sort of walk down. But when I found out, when I found out you was giving 10s across the board off the runway like this, I was like, wait a second, because I was being dragged a lot, like they were dragging Amanda Seals. I was being dragged, as they were literally calling me the trans Amanda Seals, by the LGBT plus community, saying like, why is this our problem? So for you, who again has roots in the LGBT community, in being an ally, being all these different things, when was it for you? I think I already know this question, but when was it for you that you woke up to the fact that things weren't exactly what they were portraying them to be with this Duopoly?
Yeah. Firstly, thank you, you know, both for having me. And to be honest, if you ask, I'm showing up. That's it.
Yes.
That's what we do. This is a family thing. I always say that I'm blessed that I had a father who was very much starkly against systems in general. My father was a criminal trial attorney, a defense attorney who literally went to law school for the purpose of keeping our people out of the justice system. Every time he did a case, whether it was, you know, just a hearing or whatever, he treated it with the utmost attention and having the attention to detail to really ensure that people got substantial representation, because he would often call them like public pretenders, public defenders, public pretenders. He was like, these people.
Oh, your daddy was one. I see. And I'm just saying, y'all got a podcast, right? Together?
Oh, yes.
What's the name of the podcast?
1219 Podcast. 1219 Podcast. We on YouTube. Yeah. And he would often talk about how it is that, you know, he would just see these kids, they would have these lawyers that couldn't even remember their names. And so I came from a household with somebody who I was like, was a superhero. Whenever my dad put on his suit and tie and his hard bottom shoes, he was going to wreck shop. Okay. He was going in there to let people know, y'all ain't finna do this to our folks. So when he got home, those things were instilled at home, especially like my father was born in 53 with a name like Muhammad, being a dark Black man in the 60s growing up. So that's already, and he's a short guy, you know, so that's already a lot that you have on your shoulders that you have to uphold with two parents that were from a segregated South. And so I was always raised to understand that, number one, the only thing that we subscribe to as Muslims is our Islam and our deen and following that path. And whatever is outside of that is outside of us. So attaching ourselves to these parties and having this blind faith in these systems and institutions, especially when it comes to the idea that all of this stuff is founded on racism and white supremacy. So why would we attach ourselves as Black folks, as Black American folks, to these systems that have literally been formed to subjugate us, whether that be the Republican or the Democratic Party? And so for me, that is what I was always taught. I was always taught that, yes, participate in the system, participate in this particular tool, but it is a tool, and that is not the only tool. Your job in your physical body, if you have the ability, is that something that we believe Islamically, is that the person that has the highest level of faith is the person that sees an injustice and changes it with their physical hands. And so that is what it is that I was always told. So I've never thought as voting of just like, oh, okay, I voted and that's it. That's not the work to me. That doesn't help with the community. So when we're talking about me being a cishet woman in something like Ballroom with the LGBTQ plus community, it's because something like Pride was a resistance.
Yes.
Pride didn't start as a parade.
Speak about it.
Pride wasn't like rainbows and like, you know what I mean? And
until capitalism got a hold of it. Yeah.
Hello. And even when we talk about Ballroom was a safe haven for folks to be able, even with cis folks, just Black folks, that Black and brown folks that needed a safe space to just be themselves and show their artistry and their creativity and be amongst people that they knew they were safe amongst. So for me, in being in Ballroom, that's it. I'm finding my people, whomever they are, wherever they are. And it's funny because my father, I remember asking him, I said, Dad, when did you know, like, you were meant to do what you were doing as an attorney? And he said he was early in his career as a lawyer, and he had a sex worker, Black trans woman, and he took her case, and she said to him, this is the first time someone has ever treated me like a human being. Yeah. And he said, that's when I knew. And my dad is like the ultimate, you could say, like, you know, Black man raised, you know, in 60s, you know what I mean? Some things we still got to work
with that
on.
Toxic stuff a little bit. Yeah.
We still got to work on some stuff. But when he said that, I was like, really? He said, yeah. He said, she told me that was the first time she ever felt like a person, because any other person that attempted to try, or she was looking for other attorneys, would not take her case and would misgender her and all other types of things. Yeah.
So let me ask you this. How, because now I don't, and Dr. Reagan's chiming in on this as well, because what I saw you do so beautifully, and this is why my love for you had just had deepened and deepened and deepened, because I was just like, your integrity and your ability to even support those who are still coming along a little bit, you know what I'm saying? And may they're not as worse as the ones like you have been able to stay out of the trolling space, but also hold people lovingly accountable. I see you all the time, because how was it that or what do you think is the disconnect for most of the people that you run into who did not see that ICE crackdown was going to affect Black neighborhoods and Black people?
I think that a part of my praxis is understanding history, which my father valiantly, like, when I tell y'all, our bookshelf in our home, we had books,
right,
we had encyclopedias, we had things that, like, my father would make us look up, read, and then sit down at the dining room table and discuss. Well, what did you read? Well, what does that mean? Well, how does that look? And we would always have these fruitful conversations that I didn't realize until I became adult that other people weren't having in their homes. Right. I didn't know that other people didn't know about the criminal justice system in the way that I did. I didn't know that people really didn't know the history of our people outside of what it is that we get in history class in this white American educational system, the McGraw-Hill version of
Baby, that McGraw-Hill's books was a setup.
And when I remember like doing projects with my father, like even if it were history or something, he's like, we're going to do this so you can get the grade, but here's the real story.
Right.
And so that was always my upbringing. So when I see people now, I try my best to hold that truth and understand that, number one, a lot of people really don't have a very educated understanding of Black radical tradition. They know Malcolm X by any means necessary, and they look at him as the antithesis to Martin Luther King Jr.
Yes.
But they really don't know who he was and how his politics developed. They don't know what it was for him to travel to Senegal and actually proclaim his name change and going to Hajj and what that did to shapeshift his politics. People talk about Du Bois, and Du Bois just had a if y'all haven't seen the documentary that they have, I think it's okay. I think it's important to read more about Du Bois. There's a lot of celebrity things going on with that documentary. So I was like, but it is if people don't know who he was, because it wasn't really until his like latter life where that radicalism really showed up.
Right.
Because he traveled the world and he was like, oh, we are connected in this thing. And so I think for me, it's really going backwards and understanding like Black folks have always been at the core of globalization and international politics. We have always been at the center of really identifying how it is that we are interlinked as people. And so for me, when I see people saying that certain things have nothing, I got on a Cuba shirt now.
Yes, let Cuba live.
When I see that and I'm thinking to myself, but do you know that there were multiple members of the Black Panther Party that sought refuge in Cuba?
Right.
Like, do you know that they held those people down?
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, do you know that there are so many places around the world that literally have patterned the subjugation of people in those places? Apartheid South Africa, Nazi Germany is patterned after what it is that's been done to Black folks in the United States of America. So that's where, for me, is trying to draw the link for people to understand we are intimately connected to these things. This is not outside of us. This is us.
Mm. So where does this fight, Dr. Because you know there's a lot of back and forth. There's a lot of stuff because again, especially as we as Black people, we are not a monolith, right? And we don't all think the same, and we don't all. But a lot of folks are trying to. I think that's might be at the crux of this a little bit, is that this might feel a little bit more free of a process if folks weren't pushing so much for us to assimilate, to go get along under things instead of being able to question as we go along. I saw so much dissent happening. How do we deal with the spectrum of ignorance when it comes to political education and history?
It's a beautiful question because it actually took me back to the first thing that I wrote in my notes when Sister Amani Bashir started talking. So the first one was actually from Malcolm. Malcolm said, "Do not be in a hurry to condemn. There was a day that you didn't know that which you know today." Right? Huey P. Newton in Revolutionary Suicide, and that one was a quote from Malcolm. This will be a paraphrase from Huey P. He said that even when somebody comes with a bourgeois perspective, do not talk to them in a condescending manner. Rather, explain things to them in a straightforward way. He said, I have to discourage the comrades because I too have been guilty of falling into that pattern. So the first thing to understand is that our people have been the most heavily miseducated, to go back to Carter G. Woodson, the most deeply conditioned and propagandized population, precisely because our exodus, our marronage, our fleeing from the system and developing our own autonomous alternatives to the system are the thing that itself most directly threaten the system. And this is not speculative, this is historical, right? Which brings me to the second piece from Malcolm, which is, of all of our fields of study, history is best qualified to reward our research. We had formerly enslaved Africans liberating themselves and establishing quilombos in Brazil that were twice the size of the capital of Brazil, right? That they know. We have Haitian, rebels that were able to defeat not just the French, but actually also the Spanish and the British, the three largest empires on the face of the earth at that time, in sequence, right? So they know that we are capable when we draw on our own internal organizational and epistemological and historical resources. They know that we can topple their systems because they've seen us do it, right? So we have to understand that conditioning and propaganda is because they perceive the nature of the threat that exists in Black radical politics. So that's the first part. And then from there, it becomes pretty clear and straightforward. The job is to, help people perceive radical possibilities outside of the Democrat echo chamber, the capitalist echo chamber, all of those prisons for our consciousness that are constructed for us. And history does play a role. I told you what Malcolm said. Here's one for me. The only reason why a colonizer ever removes your past from you is so that when they tell you who you are, you have no choice but to believe them. Right. So Imani, had the benefit of being raised in a household. I had to seek that knowledge out myself, beginning at age 15. But as soon as you unplug from those sources of miseducation and misinformation, you become a weapon. And if you can just teach, with patience and with moral clarity, right? And it's difficult because, I get attacked from all sides. I got white leftists on my neck at all times because I refuse to swear an oath on Das Kapital, right? That, despite the fact that I teach about Robeson and Du Bois and the Panthers, and do you know what I mean? But it's because
absolutely.
Is what Black radical traditions do by their nature is transgressive. We put into dialogue seemingly oppositional ideological, epistemological, and practical forces. And through our revolutionary struggle, we actually create new syntheses which were impossible previously. There's no way that the Haitian rebels should have been able to bring together Muslims and Vodun practitioners and practitioners of Congolese Christianity and Congolese traditional religions and forge a single revolutionary identity that was capable of toppling empires. But we did that shit anyway. And we're doing it right now. And we're doing it in ways that don't just liberate Black people, but that liberate all people. And we have to understand that is going to be a threat to anyone that's still plugged into the matrix.
So let me, because we do need to be able to, I don't understand why there seems to be such a difference when things happen to one community versus another. We talk a little bit just about real quickly about the recent shooting? It was at like a Muslim, was it called a synagogue or what was it?
They call it an Islamic center, but traditionally it's a masjid. It's a praying area. Usually Islamic centers also have like schools and other resources for people in the community.
Yes, and so at this time, in this space, what is the political response or lack thereof saying about this time when incidents like this are happening?
There's no political response. It's all folly. It's all lies. To see all of those politicians like, oh, we condemn Islamophobia in all forms. Do you? Do the people of Palestine know that? Do the people in Sudan know that? Do the people in the Democratic Republic of Congo know that? You condemn violence in these forms. There are people losing their lives on a daily. What do you mean? And so for me, it's just that posterized thing, that copy and paste messaging, but there's no actual legislation. You ain't never gonna get these white folks to give up their guns.
Well, okay, so with that, we're talking about that. So let's talk about Okay, Dr. Ware, like, okay, what you gonna do there? So if we slide you up in there in that office, what could you do to address situations like this? Is it addressing gun violence? How do you address when our society is having these issues
my
and
my
preventing them?
my academic sister, Saida Grundy, was kind of publicly, academically lynched in 2015 when she said we never have a conversation about the most dangerous demographic in the American electorate, which is young white men. So the reality is that we are never going to be safe until we have a conversation about white supremacy and the way that white supremacy functions in public, and about how we know when these mass shooting incidents take place, we know what the description of the shooter is going to be. Right? Not nine times out of 10, it's going to be a certain demographic. It's going to be a demographic that is desperately trying to be
Because when it's one of us, we like, damn, like
as adjacent as possible to one of those demographics. So I'll read to you what I tweeted. In the aftermath of the heinous white supremacist massacre of Muslims in San Diego, there will be in our public discourse the weakest of efforts to reckon with so-called Islamophobia. It will not name the enemy, which is not Islamophobia, but it's anti-Muslim bigotry. That's all it is. And that anti-Muslim bigotry will also not be taught because its history reaches back to the Crusades and before the Crusades. Anti-Muslim bigotry in European societies actually predates white supremacy. It's older even than white supremacy is. And the politics of white supremacy and anti-Muslim bigotry are also not going to be publicly interrogated by Democrats or Republicans because they are the principal offenders. They're the principal political agents that are responsible for reproducing white supremacy and anti-Muslim bigotry. So let me make those politics plain. If you vote for Democrats or Republicans, two parties that have conducted ruthless genocides against Muslims in Iraq, Afghanistan, Yemen, Palestine, Somalia, Sudan, then you are complicit in the dehumanization that led us to San Diego. But people don't want to hear that. People don't want to understand that.
What is complicit? What is, because see, here's the thing. When you say complicit,
you don't have to
you got to break that down for people because that
you do not have to pull the trigger to be an accessory to murder. Right? Sister Angelica, you know that when people participate in certain kind of bigoted discourse towards the trans community, that blood is on their hands when a Black queer trans woman sex worker is beaten in a rage.
Like Dave Chappelle can't act surprised with the way that his jokes have landed in policy.
So the critical issue to understand is that what's happening is that if you continue to vote for those two parties, what you are saying is that genocide against Muslims is not a red line for you. Those two parties are allowed to genocide Muslims, and you're going to say, yeah, but I'm going to still vote for Democrats because they're going to protect women's reproductive rights. Now, they're not going to protect women's reproductive rights, right? We know that, and they're not going to do those things. They're going to say, well, we're going to vote for Democrats because.
Oh no, you're freezing up a little bit. Hopefully, we get the internet fixed up a little bit. Hopefully, somebody plug you in directly. Like, get them to plug you in directly. Go ahead. Yeah.
Except that we know that the Democrats are not going to protect immigrant communities because the Democrats have been the co-architects of the racist immigration policies, the co-architects of ICE. They funded ICE. They instituted the policy of kids in cages, and Trump is still chasing Obama's deportation records. So people will lie to themselves and tell themselves that it's just a single issue. The issue of genocide, but at the root of it is that you do not consider Muslims to be human beings the way that you consider yourself to be a human being, because if you did, it would not be okay that they killed 500,000 or 1 million Muslims in Iraq over a fake, phony war. It would not be okay that they killed at least 250,000 Palestinians with your tax dollars. That those
so
things.
What do you say to people that say about the numbers? What do you say to people? Of course, I know but what do you say to people when they say, I have to vote for them because an independent candidate can't win?
Right. So what they're doing is that they are reversing cause and effect. They're saying that they don't vote for a non-duopoly candidate because a non-duopoly candidate can't win. But non-duopoly candidates don't win because you tell yourself that they can't, right? It's the definition of a self-fulfilling prophecy. And we know this to be completely fallacious because Greens have won 57% of the elections for which we've stood a candidate for office in the last 3 years. That number is 78% inside the state of California. Our policies, our platforms win all the time. And it's just propaganda, frankly. And the system perceives the nature of this independent threat because that's the reason why they moved to knock me off the ballot. That's the reason why they spent $20 million suing to move Greens off the ballot in 9 states in 2024, is because they understand that while there are other third-party electoral challenges, there's only one that has national ballot access. There's only one that's won hundreds of elections. There's only one that is actually positioned to threaten them electorally. So that's the reason why we are always going to get the business end of the duopolies, repression and voter suppression techniques.
So
and I want to be quiet and let Sister Imani get back in.
But so I would say before I let Imani go, because we've had her, before I let you go, I want you both to sort of chime in on this question as Muslims. I would love to, because I know that accusations have been thrown at Dr. Ware, but I know that, well, you, Imani, have the same faith. Where for you does abortion rights sit for you as and your faith? Like, because again, some people use their faith as reason to say they can't support a woman's right to choose. And I know some people like to go off of misinformation, and just because you are Muslim, think that you have a certain perspective when it comes to abortion. So can we hear directly what your perspective is on abortion?
Yeah, for me, I mean, personally, as a person, yeah, absolutely. As a Muslim, yeah, absolutely. Islam allows and has permissibility if people follow that, right? If people feel that they need to hang on to that as okay, because I'm a Muslim, I have to follow this to the letter, then yeah, to the letter, there is permissibility, especially when it comes to certain circumstances, especially when it comes to, certain, stages of pregnancy, etc. I think people often don't read things about Islam, and a lot of times contextually, especially when we talk about faith-based systems that are dated, people forget that there are things that are context, right? So Islamically, we have the Quran, but we also have hadith and we also have sunnah, right? So we have things that specifically we follow after the prophet, the sunnah, right? And then there are things that are hadith, things that substantiate what it is that we've seen in the Quran and are given a little bit more context for. People don't read all of those things to have a clear and concise ideology of what it is that Muslims believe. And then also there are different sects of Islam. So there are people who are Sunni, there are people that are Shia, there are people that, you know what I mean? And so it's not just this linear thing. I would say myself personally, and what it is that I understand about my deen, that abortion is absolutely okay. And also there is nothing in our book, in our text, that says that we have the right to dictate how it is that other people govern or identify themselves. I saw a post the other day where some right winger was like, yeah, just wait until you get a dog and then have a Muslim neighbor. I'm not going next door to you because you have a dog in your house to tell you you can't have a dog. If you eat bacon in your home, okay, you're not governed by my faith. And so therefore you're not beholden to my beliefs either.
Right.
So
that's not how Christianity works in this country. And that's not how, because I swear, because I don't even understand how the conversation of religion enters this when at the same time America says, we're supposed to have a separation of church and state. And yet at the same time, it is made very clear that if you're not a Christian in this country and running for office, you're going to have a hard time, Ian Omar.
They ain't even following
Rashid Tlaib, y'all going to have a hard time. Yeah.
Congress shall make no law establishing an official religion, nor favoring any religion in any of its in any.
So if you made the governor of California, you would make everybody follow.
It's unconstitutional to require other human beings to live by the code that you have chosen to live your life by religiously. And it's not, by the way, just unconstitutional from the standpoint of a secular United States Constitution. It's actually also anti-Quranic. The Quran's 202nd chapter, 255th verse says that ikraha fid din, there is no compulsion in religion. So the reality is Muslim societies have for 1,400 years provided for freedom of conscience, freedom of religious expression across time and space, and the conflation of contemporary white Western Christian nationalism with religiosity is a huge, a fundamental problem. So that there are some Muslims that think of Islam as a conservative religion, whereas for me, Islam is the basis of my radicalism. It's the basis of my anti-imperialism. It's the basis of my radical commitment to human beings' personal dignity, their sacred dignity, and their sacred dignity to choose the life that they want for themselves. That for me, that is based in my faith. It doesn't come for me from another source. That's what the Quran tells me, and that's what the tradition tells me, and I believe in that. With respect to the specific question, I marched at age 9 against domestic violence, Take Back the Night, because I'd seen my father put hands on my mother. And I marched with my mom at age 13 for two things: for the Equal Rights Amendment and for a woman's right to choose. And I've been pro-choice my entire life. And the lies that people tell about me are in, I mean, they're wild. I don't want to say insane because that's ableist. They're wild. The things that people say about me, because what apparently they've done is that they've taken me having a conversation about what Imani just mentioned, which is that in traditional Islamic thinking, literally going back to before the medieval period, abortion was considered permissible under a wide range of circumstances. Islam had by far the greatest latitude with the way that it understood abortion, and still does, for people that conceive of themselves as conservative in all of the ways. In every single legal school, it is still permissible to abort a child in order to save the health of a mother, right up to the moment of birth itself. That's unanimously accepted across all Muslim legal schools. There was never even a discussion about the permissibility of abortion before essentially 16 weeks, 100 days, because in Islamic conceptions, a soul isn't even breathed into the child until that point takes place. And that sentence that I just said, people then turn that into Butch Ware advocates for a 16-week abortion ban. Which again, right. I never said. I'm trying to educate people that within Islam, this is not the controversial gotcha topic that it has come to become in Christian nationalist and evangelical circles. And the reason is that Islam is not, in point of fact, this draconian medieval system that think that it is. And lastly, I'll just say with respect to because for me, trans rights issues and abortion rights issues are actually deeply connected, because they're about bodily autonomy. They're about bodily autonomy, right? They're about your sovereignty inside your body to make choices about what to do with your body medically, and that those choices belong to you, and that the only people that should be informing those decisions or shaping them are medical professionals, because you have that sovereign right to decide what happens with your body. I don't take that understanding from secular traditional sources. I actually take that understanding from my understanding of my faith. So people have a lot of misconceptions about Muslims, and it's related to that anti-Muslim bigotry. Lastly, I'll just say, out of practicing religious communities, and this is true across the board, Muslims, when polled, always have the most progressive views on LGBTQ plus questions and abortion rights. That's compared to practicing Jews, practicing Catholics, practicing Protestants, and so forth. And the reason is that it has never been inside of Muslim discourse itself the thing that it has become politicized to be within right-wing circles recently.
Yeah. Well, I want to bring on your homie that you know had you were kind of cut your teeth a little bit, I would say, in this political arena with. I want to bring on the Dr. Jill Stein. Thank you for joining us, Jill. Listen, Jill, your name just comes up all the time. When I tell you, people are so obsessed with Jill Stein. Like when I tell you, America is so obsessed with Jill Stein. Anytime anything goes wrong in policies, Jill Stein comes up for some reason, and you're not in office. And it's so funny that the expectations they have of you while not running for office, while not in for office, that they don't have for people who are obviously having their eyes on a second run and a second term. How do you deal with all of this energy that comes at you that you don't even, I mean, it just seems like a Tuesday come up and your name just comes up.
Okay, and then I'm sorry to interrupt, but I also Roger Waters just called me and he told us that he's waiting in the waiting room. So after Jill hears
this,
he there? I want us to bring Roger up too.
He needs,
Roger and Jill.
You know what? Tell someone to send him. He might have the wrong. He might not have the updated.
Okay. I'll make sure he has it. Go ahead, Jill.
Link. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Angelica. Thank you, Bush. We have magical powers. I mean, there's just no doubt about it. And every time I hear that criticism, I take it as a compliment. It is a badge of honor to have so much power, in the same way that all these forces are coming out of the woodwork to silence Butch. It's because he has that magical power. You have that magical power, Angelica. We together have that magical power. And it's so important for us to push back against this psyop. It is a big psyop that we don't have the power. It's a big psyop that Butch can't win this election, or that we are marginal, or that we don't have influence in this election or elections in general. And in the last election, where Butch and I, I had the honor of running with Butch. We really began to threaten that myth in a very big way, which is why they hired an army of lawyers to throw us off the ballot. It's why they had a so-called war room to conduct disinformation campaigns and spew lies. They spent in their little war room to fight us more than we spent in our entire campaign. They had more staffers than we had in our entire nationwide campaign. They
but can you talk about the effect of that? Because I think that, because Dr. Ware, I think, is going through the same thing. Of course, me being in the deputy campaign management position, seeing that we do not have the endless amounts of money and things like that. So like, how can you talk about what was it like for you to be up against such a moneyed machine, money wise? How were you able to fight back?
I think it's really important to take the long view. And as Malcolm said, we are not outnumbered. We are out-organized. It's not a simple proposition to organize in the face of that money. And remember this, every time they tell us that we Greens are weak, remember that we are stronger and more long-lasting and enduring than any other non-corporate political party. The socialists have basically been wiped off the face of the national map. They were very strong in the early 1900s. They held positions even in Congress and Senate and a governorship. but then they were basically removed from the ballot by the same tactics that are used against us and that are used against all non-corporate parties now. You have to buy your way in to our government, and it takes more and more money than ever, in the same way that money is more and more concentrated into fewer and fewer hands, where Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk, just one of them, has the equivalent pile of money that the lower 50% of the whole American population has. So they have so much money, and it gets more and more all the time, which then gets translated. Now it's mostly by way of super PACs. And so when campaigns claim that they're not taking corporate PACs, they're not telling you 90% of the story, because the real offender now is not corporate PACs, it's actually super PACs. And as Greens, we don't have and do not work with, even informally. You cannot, it's illegal to formally work with super PACs, but they do it all the time in these, through these special kind of covert messaging. They have what's called the red box. They all have the red box on their websites, which tells exactly the super PACs what they want them to do. So they have all kinds of ways of collaborating with super PACs. We don't do that. And guess what? It's not the Republicans who are leading now in so-called dark money, which that's like one more step removed. Dark money is like so-called charitable organizations that
they're hiding more and more the way where the money's coming from, because they see that people are learning to follow the money. So now they're learning to hide it a little bit better.
Exactly. So it goes from the dark money organizations to the super PACs. Super PACs have to say who it's coming from, but if you have started in a dark money charitable organization, then it goes to the super PAC and it never gets disclosed. So, I mean, you don't need to know the details here. You don't have to get into the weeds. The main thing is that the billionaires are every bit as much in control, in fact, more in control than ever. And the Democrats will put on a big dog and pony show that they've got their Mamdani, or they have their other, you know,
that they didn't even want in the first place. Yes.
Yeah. And the fact is, the Democrats are actually in charge of the biggest flows of money. So this is just pretense. And in the same way they set Bernie Sanders up to basically sheepdog everybody back into the Democratic Party, they are still doing that. So it's really important to reject the propaganda of powerlessness, to reject all the splitter and the spoiler arguments. The biggest constituency that's not being heard are non-voters, who are largely younger, of color, and low income. That's about, in some elections,
well,
it's 50%
speaking of that
demographic,
though, speaking of that demographic, let me ask you a question. As a white woman, let me ask you a question who has been in the Green Party for as long as you have. What do you say about the criticisms of the Green Party's having a history of anti-Blackness, or not necessarily focusing on Black and brown issues? It seems like now, to me, it seems like what has happened is that the Green Party has also become very popular because we looked around and was the only one that was willing to have pro-Palestine, pro-LGBTQ, pro-everybody under one umbrella. But there still seems to be, we see online, this problem with some anti-Blackness within leftist and Green Party spaces.
Right. And let me add pro-reparations in before I ran, which I think was the 2008 campaign. We had 2 African-American candidates for president and vice president. And remember, the Democrats have been infiltrating forever, you know, in the same way that they infiltrated, you know, the Black Panthers. You know, Democrats are experts at infiltration and you know, sort of creating firestorms within the party. And that's been going on forever too. So, I mean, if you look back at what actually gets adopted as our agenda, you know, it's entirely pro-Black and African-American and people of color. But yeah, there are strands of disruption throughout the Green Party, as there are really in all
parties, yeah.
anti-imperial, anti-racist, anti-white supremacist parties, they're going to try to break you up. So, I think it's very important to actually look below the surface and, try to understand what's really going on. And I think our agenda has been very clear in the same way that we were the first national political party to, to support Palestinian rights, to support the right of return, to condemn occupation and Zionism. We were doing that. Ralph Nader was doing that in 1996. Nader, who is of Lebanese descent himself. So we had a very clear stance, really condemning Israel and its history and its actions and supporting Palestinians from the get-go. And we've only been more confirmed and outspoken in supporting, a one-state solution with democratic rights for all people from the river to the sea, in opposing not only Israel's ongoing genocide in Palestine, but also Israel's expanding genocide, not just into the West Bank, but into Lebanon and beyond, because there is this concept of Greater Israel, and the war on Iran really should be seen as part of that extended war for Greater Israel. The greatest threat to peace and stability, not only in the Middle East, but around the world, is Israel. And remember, we are actually winning in the court of public opinion.
We sure are.
Israel is now at the bottom. A poll of like 165 nations around the world and some 100,000 people shows that Israel is now at the bottom. And guess who's right behind them? It's now the US. We were we were on top of the world. We are not anymore. And I guess that's the main thing, that I want to say here. We're taught to think of ourselves as outsiders, as as railing against the system from the outside, but actually the world is with us. And the American people are also with us on the issues. The Democratic and Republican parties have absolutely crashed and burned. They are tanking, in the same way that Trump is. And who's lower than Trump? The Republican Party. And who's lower than the Republican Party is actually the Democratic Party, in spite of all the evils that Trump is bringing into our lives. It's the Democrats that are most reviled.
And they're all benefiting.
Are. Yes.
So let me ask you this. You have spent all this time, and thank you so much for just everything that you have given to this movement to help break up this duopoly. You have woken so many people's eyes up, mine being one for sure. When you were running and you decided to choose Dr. Ware as your running mate, what would you say to people right now who need to make that decision to vote for Dr. Ware, to support his campaign, to give of their time or energy or money? Why would they vote for Dr. Ware? What was it for you that showed you that he has what it takes to help lead us in the right direction?
All it took was my first conversation with Dr. Ware to persuade me that he is leading the charge. It's not like we need to bring him in to do that. He's already doing that. And his life has been spent, I think, preparing for this role. Dr. Ware knows what it means to be, a disenfranchised, oppressed person, and to be with the rest of the world and the majority of the United States in fighting a system that basically has it in for you. So he has that experience, he has actually lived the struggle, and he has the experience of prevailing, of bringing himself up by his own ingenuity and his own vision and inspiration, and drawing on inspiration of oppressed peoples, whether it's, Malcolm X or revolutionary traditions in in West Africa or Muslim tradition or Black American tradition, that, I just felt so much more secure the moment I had a running mate like Butch, who knew kind of the history as well as had the experience of it. And I will just say that Butch is one of the most rational, well-informed, kind and loving people that I have ever known in my life. And there could be no higher qualification for higher office. And to me, it's not so much a matter of selling Butch as it is a matter of selling ourselves, to remind people that we matter. This election is about us, and it's not just about people in California. This is about all of us, all over the country and all over the world. But if you're in this country, if you are a citizen or a permanent resident or a green card holder, you can contribute. And while Butch doesn't take, PAC money, and he doesn't collaborate with super PACs, which are the real evil in this game, and he doesn't take dark money, he needs some resources.
We need some money. We need some money. Yes.
We do. And we need to be able to print flyers and put them into the hands of people. If you want to help more, beyond what you can contribute, you can also help with phone banking. This is about getting the word out that we, the people, actually have a fighting chance in this election in California, which is about all of the issues that we're all struggling with, for healthcare as a human right, for rent control, for social housing, to end genocide and our support for it, to initiate a billionaires tax and beyond. This is about the real solutions, many of which were actually launched by Greens.
Yes,
for the first time. They were launched, like Ralph Nader is the
I
one
love how they stole
Medicare
the new
for
Green
all.
Deal too. Yeah.
Exactly. Remember, I was ridiculed in 2012 by John Oliver for suggesting that we eliminate student debt and make public higher education free. That was a big joke. Thank you, John Oliver. I mean, to me, it's such an honor that we are worthy of their ridicule, and they keep trying to punch back. That should be an affirmation of how strong we are. It's an affirmation that we have the numbers. We've seen over and over again that Democrats and Republicans collaborate on genocide, on empire, on colonialism, on racism, on white supremacy, on ICE, where the Democrats, they want these so-called reforms. They won't actually call for ending ICE. ICE is an illegal and criminal organization. It's not capable of following rules. So, the solutions that we have put on the table are the only solutions that are going to work. So you might as well vote on behalf of yourself and on behalf of a living wage and the right to a job, a good wage job, as a human right, the right to rent control and social housing. We have these rights. They're on the table. And remember, we're not only winning in the US, we are winning in the court of public opinion around the world. This is the time, like the people of Bolivia are standing up right now to basically, kiss off to the US installed puppets. People are doing that around the world. China has just now, delivered food to rescue 10 million people, as Mexico has. Mexico, little Mexico to our south has just delivered not only the right to affordable housing, which they are in the process of building right now, but also on Medicare for all. They have now guaranteed health care. Pretty soon, you are just going to see the floodgates of migrants opening from the U.S. going to Mexico.
Going to Mexico for better health care.
Rights. Yes, health care and housing and so much more. So remember, we do have the power, and this is one race. And let me just say one more thing about the dynamics of this race, where there are 30 or 40 candidates, and there's just a whole slew of lackluster, completely underwhelming Democrats, centrist Democrats who do not support CalCare. They might support the abstraction of Medicare for all, but they won't support it right here, because the grass is greener somewhere else where they don't have to support it. To support, rent control and so on. and the billionaires tax. Butch is the only one, who's supporting the things that people are literally dying
And that will
for
save
lack
our lives.
thereof.
Yes, that will save our lives.
They are all splitting the centrist vote with each other. It doesn't take a humongous vote. In the informal polling that's taken place, Butch is out in front, and they're not doing formal polling because they're terrified of it for the same reason they were terrified of having to face Butch in an actual debate. So we have all the signs of success here. What we need is the strength of our own convictions. As Alice Walker said, the biggest way people give up power is by not knowing we have it to start with.
Yeah.
We have it. This is the time to use it. As Antonio Gramsci said, the old, what did he say? The old world is dying. The new world struggles to be born. This is the time of monsters. And I would just follow that with what's next is up to us. Yeah. And right now we have the opportunity of a lifetime, the opportunity of a century, maybe the opportunity, the last one that will come along. We have a real chance to just seize hold of the reins of power. We can do that in this race. And remember, when you strengthen this race, you're not just strengthening this race. We're going on. It doesn't stop here. It didn't start here. And what happens in this race is absolutely critical for maintaining the momentum. We came out of 2024 as the number one people-powered party with 5 times the number of votes as the next runner-up, 10 times the number of votes as the number 3 runner-up, and the only national voice, I should say the strongest, that's true, the only actually national voice, because there are other regional voices, but we're the only national voice to oppose genocide, support working people, oppose ICE and fascism. This is where it's happening. Absolutely. And we are the ones that have persisted when all other non-corporate political parties have been wiped off the map by the things that Democrats and Republicans do. Their average lifespan is about 10 years. And then they're gone. So we are not a flash in the pan.
Gone. We need the Democrats. I think it's time for the Democrats.
We need them to be gone.
That obituary, I think that autopsy was the obituary. That's what that autopsy of their last race was, their obituary. We need to see them gone, and we need to see the Green Party replacing them. Thank you for everything that you have done to build the Green Party.
Absolutely.
To help wake us up for this. I want to bring and thank you for introducing us all to Dr. Ware as well on the national stage. We're going to push him through to be the next governor of California through this primary. Thank you for all you've been doing.
Thank you.
Very, very soon.
I want to also. Words, Joe.
Yes, I thank you just so much. I want to bring on also just someone who I got to meet in person. I had the privilege of having my iPad autographed by the Roger Waters. And from the river to the sea, he wrote on there. I just love this. Please welcome Roger Waters.
Hey, guys.
How are you? It's so good to see you.
I'm really well, thank you. And it's so good to see you all, and particularly to see Jill with fire in her belly, as always.
Yes.
I could have answered the question about Butch Ware.
Well, can you answer?
Yeah,
because I would love to know from your perspective. Yes. What does it take? Yes.
All right, here we go. Butch Ware, get in the middle of the camera, cannot be bought, unlike all the other candidates in this election. I run my finger down the names. They're all nobodies anyway, but Butch Ware cannot be bought. Butch Ware actually believes in all the things that the rest of it, that we believe in and that Jill believes in. So he probably, most of those candidates, or almost all of them, are probably members of the Democratic Party that has supported the genocide of our brothers and sisters in Palestine solidly 100% from start to finish. Okay,
so we're just now knowing about it.
These are not just people who are slightly dim, though most of them are very, very dim. These are people who have no moral compass of any kind. I read, I'm just going to talk for a little bit.
Please, you are preaching. I don't know. Let's pass the collection plate.
I read the stuff that Butch sent me. Strangely, I had no idea that you were chairing, A, which is great, and B, that this was a sort of webinar. I thought I was going to talk to a room full of rich people who had, deep, what?
That's next weekend. Yeah.
Oh my God. Well, I'll save that. No, I'm not going to say. Yeah, I will. I'll save that speech for this. But the bit of the literature that I got that I really liked, if I was a voter and didn't speak a word of English or French or Spanish or Farsi or any known language, I would have understood what they put out. There's a list of names and there's a circle beside each name, which you can put a cross in if you want to vote for them. And at the bottom, it says written candidate, I believe, something. And you have to, if you want to vote for Butch, you have to blank in that circle with a felt tip pen or any kind of a pen, but not with a pencil. And you have to write the words Butch, B-U-T-C-H, and W-A-R-E legibly next to it in pen. This is really, really important because the machine, will be looking for any excuse they can to throw your vote out of the race. Now the fact is, and whoever's watching this webinar needs to spread this around to every single person that they know, that if we get our brothers and sisters to do that on the 2nd of June, which is when polling days, or before, you can send your votes in before. This can be written, it can be sent by post. If you all vote, Butch will, without question, be in the top 2, which is all we need to achieve in the primary. It's a foregone conclusion, but only if you do it. It's in your hands. This is the biggest moment in any of your lives. You have a chance to save Mother Earth in this election. It's that fundamentally important that we start to support leaders who have a moral compass and, going back 2 minutes, cannot be bought. The Democratic Party is bought and paid for, as demonstrated ever since I've been living in America, which is the last 25 years. So this is very clear. And if I thought it wouldn't bore you, I would repeat that again. Go and you've got to fill it in. The bottom bit, ignore all the names with circles, ignore them. Do not, whatever you do, go either him or Butch Ware. No, you must not make a single mark next to any one of those MFs. All right. You go straight to the bottom, fill that circle in completely. Butch Ware. And then Butch Ware will become the governor of California. And you know what happens to them usually? They end up in the White House. And wouldn't that not be a really good thing?
Baby, that would be amazing. You know what I'm saying?
No, don't forget
to have a radical black man in the White House. You know,
we already have Jill anyway.
You got to be specific these days.
Yeah, how amazing would that be? You know, Brother X, who he's always quoting, always said to us, they don't outnumber us, they don't outbid us, they out organize us. That's why everyone who hears my voice today has to go to their neighbors. Everyone that you meet in the coffee shop, on the street, in your school, on your way to school, on your way to work, at work, on your way home from work, we have a chance to save the world. We, the voters of California. So every single Muslim, for a start, every single one, they have to go, come on, brother, you're coming with me. We're going to go and vote right now. When the polls open, on the morning of the 2nd, we need to be the first 100,000 in line. Absolutely. We only need 1 million votes. We have to be the first 100,000. This is the only chance that we will ever have to change the course of human history for the better immediately.
Well, I want you to give a little bit of inspiration for folks like myself and other like actors, musicians, artists, and creative people who are either being told to shut up and sing or shut up and dribble. You know, can you talk to me about the disconnect with entertainment and activism, and just what would you say to those artists out there who are trying their best to reflect the times and still pay their bills?
Well, it's interesting you should say that, because I'd say to them, and I jest, but only slightly, join Butch War and I in the group of people who cannot be bought.
Yeah.
Because a lot of my colleagues in the music industry, certainly, I don't know about acting so much, but they are controlled to a certain extent, or have been in the past, by fear that they won't get the job.
Yes.
Not
yes.
my friend Susan Sarandon. Where are you, Susan?
I know. I actually emailed her people too, because I'm such a huge fan of her personally.
Or Mark Ruffalo,
yes.
or blah, blah. I'm not going to start a list of names because there's too many, because there are thousands and thousands of really good people with a strong moral compass who are already on team. But for all the ones who went, I've actually, should I mention names? Maybe.
Yeah.
My friend Brian Adams has recently come out and started waving Palestinian flags on stage. Well, 20 years ago or something like that, or 50, he once said to me, how do you do it? I can't do that. That would be the end of my career. Well, Brian has now stood up.
Come on, Brian Adams. Yes.
My buddy. He always had a good heart. I'm sure there's thousands of them in the industry. Maybe some of them are embarrassed because they haven't stood up, and they go, Jesus Christ, I look like a complete, how is that I didn't stand up to be counted? Yeah, where are you, Bono, you prick?
Yeah.
Where are you? Come on, come out. We'll have you, you can join the team of people who can't be bought. Bono.
Yes. Yeah.
Hold on.
We'll have you on board.
Where are you, Bono? You prick. It's got to be the highlight of
the whole lot of you. You can all join this band of people who cannot be bought and who care about their brothers and sisters. All we have in common is that we actually care about universal human rights, as enshrined on December the 10th in Paris in the Declaration of Universal Human Rights. We actually care about them, and we think that not just our personal lives should be based upon that idea that we all have the right to life, liberty, a roof over our head, and enough to eat, and possibly some medical care if we get old. Like me.
Why, Roger? What is it? Why are you so different from?
So what?
Why are you so different from people who have? Because I love when you. Because I'm getting to experience this a little bit. You know, you work. Because I'm 46. I'm getting up there a little bit too. But like, I've worked for a certain life. And when you have a little bit more now, I really don't even have much because of how the Zionists have been coming after me. But I have, with the privilege I have, even as a trans person. Yeah. I recognize I have certain privileges that aren't afforded to the entire trans community. So with someone who has privilege, sometimes, not often, it's great when you can turn your privilege into power. What is the difference between you and other white colleagues that I would see, whether they're in corporation or wherever, and they're just living their lives and don't feel and have access, but are not turning their privilege into power? Like, what is the difference? What do you think is?
I've spent my whole life. I've got a few quid in my war chest. And I don't say in the bank because it's not in the bank. It's in my effing war chest.
Right.
And I'm spending it quite fast on this. Next weekend when I've got that room full of rich people and Butch is in it, I gave Butch 39 grand last week, and I want them all to do the same.
Absolutely.
That's the maximum you can give him, by the way. I'm not being cheap. I wasn't being cheap.
Listen, because if you on this call right now, and if you watching us right now and you can max out at 39,000, we would love for you to go ahead and do that. But what the reality is most people in your position don't usually max out. It is the people who have the least usually that give the most, and you are just literally switching that up. So thank you for actually giving what you can in this and providing what we, because again, people, there's a lot of people who have been kind of envious a bit at
but to
Dr. Ware's
say,
campaign, because even though we've raised some, but even though we don't have as much money as the blue and red, we have been able to do so much, and it's only because of the actual volunteers and people and the sweat and people are putting that, and the people who are putting their money where their mouth is.
I wanted to answer your earlier question.
Yes.
My mum.
That's the difference.
They didn't have my mum.
Tell me about your mama.
Many times, I'll tell it very quickly. When I was about 13 or something one day, my mother looked at me and she said, "You're worrying about something. I can see there's something troubling you." And I went, "Well, I can't remember what it was. No idea." She said, "Roger, this is going to happen many, many times in your life. You're going to come up against difficult questions where there's a quandary and you have to make a decision about." Well, that might be later in your life when you're thinking, "Oh my God, I might lose my job as a bass player if I support the Palestinians. Oh, what to do?" My mother said, whenever you're in any kind of quandary, read. This is why it's so important that we allow our children to learn to read books, because she's right. So when you've done that, read everything there is about the question that you're worried or concerned about. When you've done that, you've done all the hard work. And not just from the point of view that you share, but from all points of view. Yeah, okay. She said, "Well, when you've done that, you've done all the hard work. The next bit's easy." And I went, "Wow. Oh, what's the next bit, Mum?" And she said, "Then you do the right thing."
It seems so simple.
It's easy.
Yeah.
There is no question. For instance, if we're talking about Israel and the genocide, it's not a difficult question. It's not it takes you about a minute to weigh it up. Oh, there's one group of people who are insane and are murdering another whole group of people. Where should I put my support? Which side am I on? It's not rocket science. You have to be insane to support Israel. Insane. That, like the Democratic, all the Democrats are insane about this one issue. Why? APEC.
That money makes a girl do some shady things.
Their money makes the general public not put Massey back in Congress.
Yeah.
That's what their money does. It does that. They've bought Congress. Congress is completely bought and paid for. This is wrong. That's why the voters on the 2nd of June have a chance to change the entire course of human history, because this could be the turning point for the whole world to stop becoming humane and to run on the principles that the only things important to us are love and truth. And that is the end of it.
Well, thank you so much, Roger. Do you want to say anything, Bush, before we let Roger go?
I would only add, human dignity, right, to the end of that we're willing to fight for our brother or sister or non-binary sibling in humanity, because we want them to be afforded the same dignity that we want for ourselves. This is just basic golden rule stuff. And I will wear what you put on me, Roger. It's true. I can't be bought, because they don't have anything that I want more than I want dignity for humanity. They don't have anything that they could offer me that would be worth my soul in return for it, right? And ultimately, that's what this is. And this is not a movement that's about me and my personal integrity or personal morality, but it is required that leadership have personal integrity and morality. Otherwise, they will betray movements. They will choose themselves over the movement. And I in the Islamic tradition, there's a famous saying: if you put the sun in my right hand and the moon in my left, I could not be bought for the price of those two. They don't have anything that I want, and I'm willing to fight for you and for anybody that sees in themselves the possibility of living in a future that doesn't look like this. It does not have to look like this. We do not have to have people starving while some have a million or a billion times more than they could ever eat. We can build better, and we can do it now. So thank you for your support, Roger. Thank you for putting your money where your mouth is and making that max donation, and for always showing up and for singing for us at the concert in San Leandro. Love you like a brother, and thanks for everything.
Love you too, brother.
Thank you, Roger. All right, so now we are going to bring on our brother who has just been really shaking up the internet, has kind of probably made YouTube his bitch, you know. It just is, I mean, like, this man, millions of views on all these videos. Let's bring up to the stage FD Signifier. What's going on, bruh?
What's going on, people? Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you so much for answering the call, for jumping in last minute for us to, you know, raise some money here to disrupt this duopoly. You know, you are someone who is able to say some things, because you have been able to say some things that I have been figuring out how to tip my toe on, talking about the impact of Tyler Perry or the impact of Beyonce. And these are videos that these videos have millions of views. Why do you think it is that you have been able to sort of not only gather the attention of folks around this conversation, but to actually not get stung? Because I think it seems like you're still living. So to not get stung by
knock on some wood. So it's a couple of things. First off, let me not front. It's been a couple of stings from different people, but thankfully nothing from the Beehive or Tyler Perry. It's two reasons why I think I've been successful. The first one, I'm gonna just be blunt, and this is still important and applicable, is I paid attention to the game. I understood once I stopped playing around, and I had a couple of, you know, lucky opportunities. Like, it takes luck to get these machines to pay attention to you. But once I had the machine's eye, I looked it directly in the face and started to understand its nature. And then I started playing Spook Who Sat by the Door. I was invited into a couple of rooms, you know, some huge YouTubers, powerful people within the industry. And I was just like, okay, writing notes, sharing those notes with my peers, sharing those notes with other Black creators as much as possible. And that has allowed me to really understand the way these platforms work in a way that I think a lot of people don't, who are trying to share those messages. But specifically for me and my content, I think it actually vacillates well with what Butch is trying to do, which is, I am a elder millennial, and I am a person that, you know, 15, 20 years ago, was like gung-ho for Barack Obama. Was like, this is it. This is the moment. This is the change you've been waiting for, etc. And although there's always people that, you know, folks to my left, or folks who have been more principled and more locked in for longer, that, like, you will chuckle, understand that was a very common place for a lot of young Black folks to be. And that's because we're coming out of a really, I like to imagine that we're in the tail end of 50 some odd years, 60 some odd years of counterinsurgent miseducation and propagandizing of everybody in general, but specifically Black would-be agitators.
Yes.
There's a generation I'm a part of a generation of elder millennials who were born after the Warren Court era, who were the first or second or third children of people who were in civil rights movements, and were there when Richard Nixon said, hey, let's replace Black radicalism with Black capitalism.
Ooh, yes.
And that was a power move. I'm a child who was in diapers when Reagan said, you know what, we're actually going to make Martin Luther King's birthday. I'm going to be the one to bring us Martin Luther King's birthday to the country. I'm going to be the one to make it a federal holiday, but I'm going to do it in a very specific and explicit framework that allows for the manufactured consent of Black people of all social and educational and economic stratas back into the system. And so for me, you know, coming out of the environment that I was in, the idea of going and grabbing the brass ring and pulling yourself up by the bootstraps and hitting the ground running, go get all your degrees, etc. That was not just the key to my success as a Black man. That was somehow liberatory.
Right.
And I'm also now the first generation who was probably a part of the first generation, the first cohort of young people who is not going to pay off their student loans until I'm in my 60s. And so that realization settled in right at the tail end of Obama's like first term. And I think a lot of people have been searching for answers, not realizing that the answers have always been in the Black radical tradition, because the Black radical tradition has been purposefully erased from our history, purposely removed from Black consciousness. And it takes people like Butch Ware to be in a position to be like, yeah, no, actually it's right here. Actually, the answers have been in front of you all along. Actually, it's these scholars, these thinkers, this movement, this action. And it comes in all shapes and sizes. And so once I started to realize that, right, once I started to connect with elders who are part of that tradition that I hadn't connected to in my adulthood, because I had been in this mainstream academic framework, and I started seeing all this tapestry that had been there the whole time, but it was just invisible to me. The last thing I'll add is I had the talent to transmute that into commercial entertainment products that resonated with other people that were like, whoa, I was looking for this too. I didn't know it. I didn't realize it, but I felt that I was looking for this analysis, looking for this breakdown myself. I felt it intrinsically, and you put it into words. And so people resonate with that.
Baby, I took about, I don't know how many days I took to really take in that Tyler Perry video, about 4 hours of it. But when I tell you, when Dr. Charlene Carruthers was on stage with you guys at the Unity Uprising in Atlanta that we just did, and she said that if you're going to create this content, that Black people, that we deserve, your audience, we deserve your rigor. Do you remember? I don't know if you remember. And that is what I've seen in the content that you create, is a rigor to be thorough, to actually make sure that you don't almost leave a stone untouched when it comes to being able to put at least an argument together of why people have the feelings they might have, but haven't been able to put words to them yet. So then when you reach your content to the level of popularity that you have, and then you said on the stage at the Unity Uprising that you should even be critical of my content. When all of a sudden brand deals come and you start to get a certain level of success, how do you handle knowing, because now I know you know, like you said, you know the game, you're looking it dead in the face. So you probably know exactly what's going to not monetize on YouTube and what is going to, help and not help. How does that inform how does that inform the action behind your lens? Like, how far are you willing to dig, or how, like I said, because now I'm in the seat of, I love me some FTV. Oh, you breaking it down, but also that's a lot of million views. So, okay, what is you not saying?
So, I mean, there are things I'm not saying. There are things that I have to make a conscious decision. Do I want to, is it worth my platform to be pure and blunt with this message, or must I couch it in something that is that I can subterfuge? Also, and I want to be clear, it's not as cynical it's not a cynical thing in and of itself. It's also tactical, because me and Butch Ware, we talked a couple of months back. We just had a little conversation on my side channel, and it was blunt as hell. We talked all the shit, no holds barred, whatever. I don't know, 20,000 views, maybe 40,000 views. But I can subterfuge a lot of the rhetoric and ideas and elements to that conversation into a video about a Beyonce or Black Panther, the movie. and then reach an audience
Yep.
and have that information resonate at a frequency that they don't even understand that they're being connected with.
Yes.
So it's on one end it is self-serving because it allows me to stay under the radar a bit, but on the other end it's also, I think, that the best use of my talent, which is, there's a lot of people, with podcasts that have more information than me, have read more books than me, have had a principled critique of our reality for longer than I've had, are to my left and more disciplined in how they engage in these politics. But they don't know how to make the videos. They just don't. So I want to connect with those people, and I want to find ways to transmute what they have into something that I can get to 1 million people, or hundreds of thousands of people. So that's why you also must remain critical, because I also want to raise these critical faculties, since I can't promise that I'm gonna always do that perfectly. And I also want people to be able to critique and say, FD missed here, left the gap here, and also be able to do that with all the other stuff, because most people are way less interested in that principle than I am.
I want to jump in real quick, just because in one of our kind of private offline conversations, you said this thing to me that I still haven't quite figured out that I know the answer to, which is that you said that we have not yet found the edge of what the attention economy can generate for us politically. And that has been stuck in my head since we had that conversation offline. So I've always wanted to circle back and just ask what you mean by that, and how we can, kind of marshal the limited discursive space that is allotted for us on these platforms. Yours is, YouTube, where you do the most damage. Mine is Instagram. There are others that, that do things in different spaces. But I actually think that it's a really important and critical question. So while you marinate on that, I just want to circle back to where you started, because I heard very deep resonance with the in your experience on YouTube with what I get when people hear me speak in person for the first time, especially Black audiences, which is that people have this response like, wait a minute, I know this stuff, right? Like, wait, I know that Dems are ops. How did I forget? Like, I know that I knew that Malcolm wasn't about this. I knew that Fred Hampton wasn't about this. I knew that Assata Shakur wasn't about this. I feel like I'm never really doing anything except reminding people of things that we all already knew, right? But that somehow and I guess ultimately they're the same question, right? Because somehow the propaganda machine, somehow that Black excellence, that Black capitalism instead of Black radicalism has produced this kind of generalized stupefaction amongst our people, so that we just have to have like this reminder. So maybe they're the same question. I don't know, but those were the two things that were on my heart listening to you.
Yeah, it's so the thing is, so obviously these machines are in the hands of evildoers, for lack of a way of putting it, right?
The worst humans.
The worst humans. However, the irony is that the pursuit of capital has put them in a position where they've actually taken a lot of their hands off of the levers for the sake of efficiency and giving it to the computer autonomously. That's a lot of big words to say. The people that control the platform don't necessarily control the framework.
Yep.
Now they can always change it. They could always put in the efforts or whatever. And they probably will once we start utilizing it to its fullest capacity. But up until then, there's just so much more we could be doing. I'm an advocate that more people need to be making content. First, more people need to be doing action. I want to be clear. The sister at the event, corrected that's the first thing, is you should be engaged in IRL action, organizing, commitment to struggle. But for those of you who, we're just on the side or whatever you have time, you should be engaging with the building of networks and algorithmic, what I call gravitational, like gravity wells around Black struggle, because the machines are mostly blind. They only respond to engagement. They only respond to, they only respond to engagement. They respond to what the people are actually doing. And so we haven't, like, I would have thought what I'm doing was impossible 5-6 years ago. Where I'm at was impossible because, sorry, we're getting ready to pull into our location. Yeah. I would have thought what I was doing right now was impossible. And then I did it. And then I would have thought, okay, replicating the success I had with any other Black person is impossible. But then Andrewism did it, Lil Bill did it, Foreman did it, Olay did it, like all these other people did it. And so it's like, okay, we kind of see some percolation here. What is exactly happening? And what I recognize is that it's responding to the movement of people. So ironically, even online, organized struggle leads to, action and change. I forgot what your last thing was, and I want to try to get to it before I have to jump off the car to our destination.
No, that was basically it. It was about how we can, weaponize the attention economy for political purposes, and it was connected in my head in some kind of intrinsic way with reawakening and reviving something that is latent already inside the culture. It's an appeal to something that's sitting below the surface, because I almost never actually have the response like, what's this nigga talking about? Like the response is usually instead like, oh yeah, like this reminds me of something that I knew, and how did we manage to forget it?
Yeah. It's a very complex media apparatus that we've been suffering under and fighting for, the better part of a century. And, as was alluded to from some of the other guests, we're at the precipice to puncture it, to disrupt in a way like never before. So I hope you're able to do that. I support and I'm rooting for you to accomplish that goal for the people. And I appreciate y'all having me on.
Thank you so much. And FD, we're going to definitely be connecting. I'm in Atlanta, so we're going to be connecting. I need to connect with you. Thank you so much for joining us. I think we might have one other person that says that their device is not connected, though.
I know we had Rathbone on, but I'm not sure what happened to his connection. I can also
yes, Omar and Rathbone. Yes. But yes. So you have a way of being able to surround yourself, obviously, with folks who are not just saying things, you know what I mean, but are actually doing things. And what I love about what FD is saying, even as well, is just understanding that he's seeing the game that he's seeing, and playing the game that he's playing it, but he understands that there are like skillful ways in order to kind of produce and do those things that might be helpful for those who are of us that are making more direct and radical content. I do like that he's able to shake people's mindsets up to ask the right questions when he does break a video down for like with Beyonce and just like talking about Black radicalism and the ways that has been turned into performance art, and like, kind of the separation of what folks say versus, sort of the images that they're providing and whatnot. But when it also comes to like, I would say like disability rights and disability justice as well, that's one of the conversations I think that we always need to even center more and talk more about, just because like some of us are walking around with like disabilities that are unseen, that are not, that you can't really tell. And I go ahead and actually finish. But some of us are walking around with disabilities that, are not as visible. And some of us, are one like bout of COVID away from being disabled, or, living under an administration like this one that, we have the threat of another virus, Hunter virus or something that might be going around as well. There is, I think you said it. I think there was something that you said, Dr. Ray. Was something you said that you're an accident. What was it that you said?
Yeah, no, what I said is that we are all aging or an accident away from having disability be the central concern in our lives at any time. And so for that reason, disability activism, engagement, and political work should be at the core of our existence. And I mean, I've had my attention drawn to that as the parent of a 15-year-old severely autistic child who's verbal but not exactly communicative, and who needs all kinds of care. But the reality is that disability has been moved to the political margins for all of the same reasons for all of the Nazi reasons. Right? No, I mean, well, look, for all of the Nazi reasons, the same people that brought us
eugenics.
Yeah, exactly. Eugenics, racial politics, all of the queer phobia, transphobia, the same people, that are responsible for every kind of, replacement theory, right? All of these things, they're the ones that are trying to turn our attention away from caring to the disabled, the weak, the socially, the physically vulnerable, and we must be at all times 10 toes down to fight on the behalf of people who might not in any given moment have the capacity within their bodies to fight for themselves. And Audre Lorde,
and you don't want to wait till it's too late to be advocating for that,
because it's coming for you one way or the other. It's coming for you one way or the other. And I mean, Audre Lorde, who led the way, for a lot of people in thinking about this, had to grapple with what ableism had meant in her own thinking when she was, recovering from cancer, right? And so she was already at the forefront of thinking in all of these radical ways. But that's what leads her to the place where, she's talking about rest as resistance and self-care as this crucial part of the way that we construct our body politics. So all of that's just to say that it's thank you for raising that. And I think we just saw Rathbone.
Yeah, absolutely. We got Rathbone on here.
Hey.
What's going on, brother? Thank you for joining us. Yes.
How's it going, everybody? What's up? Thank you for having me.
Yes. And thank you for this beautiful professional setup you got going on here.
This whole podcasting setup is so elite. Like it's
very elite.
I had no idea, but that's high praise coming from you all. I appreciate that.
Well, so let me ask you a question just straight off the jump. When did things kind of snap for you when you realized, holy shit, this is not what I thought this was?
I think it was COVID initially that I guess I'm a late bloomer, but I've always sort of rejected the political economy that I've lived in. I just didn't know how to articulate it. And I think COVID really gave me the opportunity to sit down, and go on a YouTube rabbit hole and start learning from a bunch of leftist intellectuals. And that sort of started my journey of becoming really fiercely political. And, anytime I feel like the artist in me, anytime that I get inspired or passionate about a topic or a discussion or whatever the issue is, I always want to create about it. I always want to make art or make something creative to share what I find so passionate. So I just started making political sketches, and it was the first time that really anything kind of took off for me. So people were telling me
that's interesting. That's actually kind of interesting for you to say that doing political content or comedy and satire, because there seems to be an interesting conversation right now when it comes to comedy and politics. And some comedians choosing to use that stage to punch down or to run cover for, to give the people their bread in their circus, rather than actually sort of reflecting the times. So what would you say as a comedian, what is your perspective sort of on the landscape of comedy right now? Because people are claiming, you got right now, Kevin Hart, they just did this roast where they're claiming so boastfully that comedy's back, because you can now say the R word and now make a joke about George Floyd. What is your sort of perspective of the current state of comedy and politics?
Well, I think, I don't consider myself to be a comedian necessarily, although I think a lot of what I do is I focus on expressing ideas, political ideas, through a satirical way. And it's at this point, it's like you have to laugh to keep from crying. So
many times
I'm told that, humor is an effective tool to get, the point across, especially when it comes to Zionism and the Israelis, because I feel like my goal is to ridicule them and not show them, because I think they want to be reviled. I think they take sadistic pleasure in that. So I shame them and laugh at them and ridicule them as a way to, I don't know how effective it is, but that's sort of my goal. But I think, to answer your question, I think satire, comedy, that's always punching up. That's the whole point, is to punch up and not punch down. So I don't think comedy is back just because you can say the R word or whatever. That's so silly to me, so I don't know. I reject all that.
Well, let me ask you this. What was it? When did you how did Butch Ware come across your radar?
I can remember the exact moment. I was watching.
I've never heard this. I'm
really?
Yeah, go.
I was watching an interview he gave with that liberal sheepdog, Mehdi Hasan, and he was just taking Mehdi Hasan to task with all of the, all of the things that he was saying were things that I was already saying on my streams, or, the ideas that I was expressing in my content. So it was just like, it was so refreshing to me to hear a political candidate that's not part of the duopoly, and he's actually speaking truth, and he's speaking honestly, and he's got integrity, he's authentic, he's sincere, and he's like I said, he's saying all the correct things. So I was just floored, and I tell people this all the time, because I cover Butch Ware's campaign. I cover it, all the whole, ever going back to his run for presidency, and he's the only person, like I said, just telling the truth. And I try to, tell people and make people more aware about the Green Party, because nobody really, not nobody, but there's a lot of people that don't know what's happening, and there's a lot of treachery that the Green Party faces behind the scenes. And I'm so disgusted by that, especially from the Democratic Party. They're actually co-opting and all the policies, all the platforms that the Green Party actually champions, and they pay lip service to it, but they don't follow through, and then they attack their left flank. And there's all these illegal sabotage. That's why we have to write in Butch Ware now. And
absolutely,
it's just. I don't know. I sort of lost my train of thought.
No, go ahead, Dr. Ray. You're going to ask him something.
Can I jump in with one piece, just because I didn't realize that it was the Mehdi Hasan interview that had first got your attention. I had seen a couple of your really good sketches. The first one that drew my attention was when you were talking about cops not being workers and cops not being part of the working class, and I was like, oh, where has this guy been all my life? Just want to make that clear. Like, it was just brilliant, sketch, the role play piece. But I think that this is the other critical part. And I got my, Intifada shirt on now. I had to do a costume change. I got a couple different T-shirts for this under the leather jacket. And by the way, there's a conversation happening in the chat right now as to who's winning, my black leather jacket or your blue denim jacket. So I just want to and I feel like there's a Sydney Sweeney joke in there somewhere, but I don't really know.
I didn't even think about that. Oh no.
No. No, because somebody
said they like the green jacket that Angelica's wearing back.
And Angelica's got the green. Well, you look like a superhero in the green jacket.
Yes.
So, I don't know what the feminine equivalent of a black green hornet is, but we'll figure that out later.
Yes, very bad. Yes.
Well, but the thing that I just wanted to mention quickly was that the reason why I stuck with your content and why I invited you to the End of Empire conference that we did at UC Santa Barbara, where we got to break bread with you and with Guy Christensen and others, because the litmus test for me is the one that Mehdi failed, is that anyone who would condemn the Palestinian resistance is not on our team. Right. Yeah. And that was the part that, that still remains like a critical part of my litmus test to understand where, people are, whether they're politically aligned or not aligned. If they condemn the actual physical resistance to, to genocidal violence, to Zionism, to American imperialism, then they might be paying lip service, to our revolutionary or leftist or socialist or anti-capitalist heroes, but they don't understand them, or it's performative. Because in the end, like, yeah, we have our job here in the core of the empire to challenge and subvert the empire from within in every single way that we can, including at the ballot box. But the reality is that the true resistance is the resistance that occupied people face on a daily basis to their to their extinction, right? So that was the reason why, yeah, I like the good sketches and everything, but I only stick with people when they stick with the resistance.
And like you were saying earlier, I mean, you guys, I was listening, and you've had amazing guests on. They've said all the right things, and like you said, Butch, genocide is not a red line, to these liberals. It's enraging hearing Democrat sheepdogs tell us that anti-skepticism is a bridge too far, but genocide isn't. They cancel candidates because their rhetoric isn't pure in opposing genocide, and they maybe offended somebody's feelings, maybe. So then they promote liberal Zionist cops. I mean, it's insane to me. And that's why I'm here. I always have time to disrupt the duopoly, and there's no other party, there's no other candidate that's saying and doing the things, and above all else, Butch Ware and the Green Party does not accept money from the Epstein regime. You don't accept corporate Zionism, and that is the key principal issue of our day. And so I'm here to support. Let's fundraise. Let's donate our time, our energy, our money.
Absolutely.
And I especially love when liberals tell us that there's like no point, like there's so much apathy when it comes to trying to build a third party,
especially during a primary.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When the best time to do it is,
exactly. And they say that it's impossible to build a third party in the United States. Meanwhile, we're forcing the Palestinians to rebuild their entire civilization. And do they get the choice that, it's just impossible for us to do that. We shouldn't even embark upon it. We shouldn't even try. I mean, it's just everywhere I'm surrounded by the politics of convenience, comfort, cynicism, apathy, obsequious obedience. And we're always told to make ourselves small. We're placated, minimized. Here, have some breadcrumbs. And then it's not even the breadcrumbs. It's just the promise of breadcrumbs, because they don't actually come through with the breadcrumbs.
They really don't.
So it's
they really don't.
We're going in, not like you said, not to use an ableist word, but it's maddening.
Listen, I love that. And I love that you, again, as somebody in a satirical world, to understand even ableist in language and how important it is to filter that in. I do that all the time because I'm someone who uses the word crazy. I just, we just use, oh my God, it's this crazy. And I'm like, okay, that's ableist. So I'm starting to say wild and say all these other things, because you don't know crazy until you've actually seen crazy. And then you won't be calling the fact that the mail was late today crazy, because that's not crazy. You want to know crazy? Some of these girls out here could tell you crazy. Yeah. So thank you so much for joining us, for using your platform, for telling all your friends and all your networks. Write and Butch Ware by June 2nd. Anything else? Where can folks follow and your show and learn more about you and your platform and your work?
Well, I just want to say I'm privileged and honored to be invited to this. I champion the Green Party, and I'm always promoting the Green Party. I'm always promoting Butch Ware. And other Green Party candidates like Anthony Aguilar, and I guess I basically just have a live stream on YouTube that I do Monday through Friday, 4 hours. We cover the news, and we kind of talk about all the things, all the values, all the issues that are underrepresented in our mainstream.
Let's do it live. Bring me on. Let's do an hour live.
I would love that, Butch. I would love that. Let's do it.
I want to come on sometime too, Rampone. I want to come too.
Let's do it. I just want to say, Butch is one of the few people, and I don't, suffer foolish rhetoric, lightly. And Butch Ware is one of those people that I can't I can listen to him for hours and never get tired. And that's just a testament to his intellect and his heart. And so we're Team Butch all the way. So thank you for your time.
Yeah, well,
Thank you so much, Red.
I'll have my folks, send an email, because we'll schedule that hour. I'll hop on the live stream and we can talk about, everything from front to back and back to front.
I would love to go through, because I want to explain to my audience all the detail, all the minutia, all the stuff behind the scenes that you guys face. I saw that interview with Katie Halper that you gave, and we watched it on stream, and it was very insightful, and I'd love to spread more awareness about that. So thank you.
We'll do it this week. Yeah.
Sounds great.
Thank you so much. All right. So before we get out of here, we got another GOAT coming to the stage here that is using their platform at such a young age and is already making such an impact on this movement. Lavish. What's going on, Lavish Mac? Welcome to the stream. Now, Lavish, am I correct in that
I can't hear y'all.
You can't hear us.
Okay. I could just hear you when Rathbone was on, but I can't now.
Well, that might have something to do with your connections on that.
I can try to exit and re-enter real quick.
You can try that, or under the settings too, like under there, like when you see your microphone, there's like a little drop down menu by the microphone, and you can select where your sound is coming out of. And I would probably bet that your sound is probably not coming out of where you need it to. Or it looks like he might come back. Yeah,
way in and out. We'll just let him reset those audio.
Yes, but
so hold on real quick before you jump in. I just wanted to say that there was a moment where you said we're living in a satirical world, and I thought you were going to go into a Madonna impression at that point in time.
I literally
don't know if you heard it in real time the way that I heard it.
In a satirical world, and I am. In a world where like we almost need satire, it's almost you need it to be able to do things. So let's see if we can get Lavish. Lavish, can you hear us now?
I can hear you now. We're back. We're locked in.
Okay, now we're locked in. So Lavish, I had the pleasure of meeting you in person just recently here.
It was my pleasure.
Yes, in LA at the First Unity Uprising. And so am I correct that you are also now on the team side of the election right now, right? Like you're running.
I'm not running for anything, but
no, you're not running, but you're working for a candidate, right?
Yeah, I'm locked in with Greg Stoker's campaign for Congress in District 31 of Texas, right outside Austin, doing some social media comms and constituent outreach. So yeah.
And is Greg running green or blue?
Yes.
You're running green. Okay, good.
He ain't running blue.
Right. So talk to me about well, one, I want to ask you because you're pretty young, and I want to ask you when, because with this younger generation, what was it for you that kind of shifted things? Wait, this is not what I was taught in schools that this was supposed to be.
For sure. I'm young, but I think I'm older than you think I am. I'm 33. The first thing I ever remember, along these lines.
I'm going on 46, so yeah, you're still a little young to me, baby.
For sure. But I remember protesting George Bush with my mom. So early on, having this concept in mind of how bad the Republicans were, but then Bill Clinton also was doing the same thing. So it's not really a revelation that I had recently, or it wasn't around George Floyd or COVID necessarily. I guess that's kind of when my life, like so many of us, our lives changed around that. Maybe that was a catalyst. But I've had this consciousness around it, I would say, for a long time. But yeah.
Wow. So then what introduced you to Dr. Ware? How were you introduced to Dr. Ware and his platform?
It was a really organic, internet connection for sure. I was making a lot of videos after I ran for office in 2023. I was making all these TikTok videos. I got my Instagram deleted, so I was like, I'm going TikTok. And I think I made a video talking about prisons in some capacity. I think I was talking about Angola prison or something like that. And Butch reached out to me. I think he saw the video. So it was organic like that. And he invited me to come out to California, man, and that was really a major movement, a major moment, where so many of us connected. Like I met Rathbone, who was just up there, and I mean, Butch put us all together in this way that I'm like, I'm so honored to have been one of these people. We were like, you know, his students almost in a way. He like got us all together. He picked us out. It was beautiful. So shout out to Butch for creating that. It was amazing.
Well, I think, you know, that's what some people don't see sometimes as organizing, you
Right.
know, as actually putting people together who need to know each other.
For sure.
Yeah, and learn from each other. Go ahead, Dr. Ware.
Well, I'm glad it was, you know, named just because the reason is that all true revolutionary movements are actually rooted in love, and you cannot love or trust people that you don't know. So
Right.
you actually have to get together, share space, and people that know me know that I'll be up and down the state. I'll do 4 in real life appearances in one day, because the thing is that gathering in physical space, energy doesn't lie. You know who you're sitting with, and there's an energy exchange that takes place in that. So much of what I've done throughout my whole career before I ever got called into electoral politics was literally only that, just trying to bring in people that I know are aligned on the right kind of work and they're trying to do, but they just don't know each other yet. And,
Right.
and what you'll find is that if you bring 30 people that, you know, you think are energetically aligned together, and you might find 3 were actually duds like that, you know, and that's fine. They weed themselves out, you know,
Right.
but you might find that 3 or 4 people in that room will literally themselves become the kernel for a whole new movement.
Yes.
And it's also, and I think that this is important for us to understand and reflect on as part of our political practice. This is also part of the reason why I'm not an ordinary political candidate. I come from an organizing, activist, and educating background. So my goal is actually always to cultivate fellow soldiers in a movement rather than disciples in a movement. And people think that electoral politics is about, you know, getting people to vote for you, and at some level it is. But all political activity is actually about bringing together individuals, communities, connecting hearts, and allowing people to build solidarity that is like that's rooted in like mutual trust, respect, love, and understanding. That is the basis of all things. You can't be about human dignity in the abstract without actually connecting people in their humanity in practice.
Exactly.
Well, Lavish, you know, people know about the drama that the Democrats have been bringing our way over here in their California race. Have you been seeing, like, as running a green candidate in, is it Michigan? Where?
Texas.
Texas. Running a green candidate in Texas. What is the response you're getting?
I would say it's actually good because so many of them, you got to think about Texas, right? So many of them are vehemently anti-Democrat.
Yeah.
So when you're like, oh, I'm not a Democrat, they're like, oh. Then you can get into these policies and these ideas that they actually agree with. They just can't align with it when they see blue no matter who energy. When you think about this, I heard someone tell me this, I don't know how long ago, the MAGA campaign, the populist like MAGA ideology was a socialist platform.
Really?
And I'm like, what? You look at the things that he was trying to do, which were all a lie. Obviously, he was lying about all of them. It was socialism, but it was for the rich. It was for the oligarchs, basically. But it was a socialist campaign to a degree. So these people wanted that. They didn't get any of it. They just got endless wars and all of our taxes being used to eat children, apparently. But when you're able to get past this blue, they can actually hear what you're saying. So you saw the 2024 autopsy of the Democratic Party. They literally refused to acknowledge the whole point of it was to take accountability and point out the things that made them lose so horribly. But within it, you don't need to read it because they didn't say anything. They literally didn't take accountability. The whole point was to point out what made them lose. They didn't say Palestine. They didn't say climate. They didn't say economy. They didn't say gas prices.
I don't think they even said Israel.
They said nothing but marketing. They said it's marketing and it's going to take a couple generations until the Democrats can start getting voted in again. It's insane. It's like the party is crumbling and there's
So you saying
obviously
you in Texas? So Texas, if I'm correct, ain't that's what Jasmine was that, right? And you have seen the things that have been going. Obviously, the conversation that has been going on online as well. How do you in social media, because you're as well as obviously you're doing this organized, you're working actually on the ground in a campaign, but
right.
you are also in the space of social media influencing, and you're in this world. How do you communicate with? Are you communicating with? Are you seeing a line of demarcation between the people you follow, you used to follow, or that folks who are getting tripped up in trying to still run cover for the Democrats?
Yeah, there's one person in particular who I'm not going to name, but they're in community. It's a white dude. He grew up very affluent and has a major page, and he's cool. He works with the Global Samou Flotilla, and he's on the ground. He tried to get into Palestine, and he got detained by Israel. He's doing real things, but for some reason, he won't stop talking about how great Tom Steyer is. I'm like, brother, how much did they pay you? How much?
Oh, yeah.
How much did they? Yeah, I'm thinking $100,000.
It's public now, yeah.
Oh, wait.
So there's not just ideas, or maybe I see it here and there. No, there's like legitimately, oh, there it is.
Hold on. So I know the person that you're talking about. I don't know the number, but we did see that the Latino influencer Foo's Gone Wild, it was 75 grand. That's how much he got paid to walk around with Tom Steyer and to legitimize Tom Steyer.
And you see, it didn't work today. Where was he? Lamert Park? He tried to walk through Lamert Park today and got ran out.
Child, please. Well, and listen, okay, I want to say this while the tape is running, because this is really, really important to understand. The moral bankruptcy of the so-called progressive establishment, they have revealed to everyone that they are nothing but vote blue no matter who liberals. There is no way of maintaining your internal principled integrity while advocating for a billionaire who made $100 million plus on private prisons and never gave any of it back. The thing is that there is no way of putting a watermelon flag inside your profile while supporting an anti-BDS, pro-AB 715 Zionist who will not call Gaza a genocide. And the thing is that the moral bankruptcy is what it has destroyed whatever the Democrats were. Now, I always knew the Democrats weren't shit. I want to make that clear. Malcolm told us.
I was bamboozled.
Right, I know. And many of us were, right? And don't get me wrong, I voted
my whole family. We talked about voting Democrat our whole life, but my whole family was Democrat.
Obama.
Never. I voted for Obama, and I voted for Bill Clinton when I was 18 years old. And the reason was he was running on campaign finance reform. And while I never believed in the Democrats, I believed that if you could get the money out of the politics, then true revolutionary politics might have space. So I took an instrumentalist vote as an 18-year-old kid, right? And then never voted for another Democrat until I seen the black, candidate that was running, who was acting like an anti-imperialist, who was, performing the role, who I knew was read in on Palestine. And then he backstabbed us just the same way that all of the other Democrats have. But the moral rot and the hypocrisy and the utter bankruptcy of this is so important to understand.
But you're saying it's not, what you're saying is not like hyperbole. It's not like this thing, it's actually for real, because to when you say that Obama is red on Palestine,
yes.
When I watched the Israelism documentary and I learned that the presidents have to make this sort of trip to Israel and do this whole sort of thing, and then when later I hear Obama, Harris, everybody else talking about October 7th, I'm now confused. I'm confused because what you're talking about, that moral, that's what that is, because there's no way you can sit up and be educated and then lead this and then say what you're saying.
It's worse than you think. Obama literally studied with Edward Said, the Palestinian, historian, scholar, activist. He's the only Columbia faculty member who had to have bulletproof glass installed in his office windows because he was constantly under threat of death from Zionists, right? And Obama learned from him. So Obama knows, and that makes the betrayal that much worse. Obama is Black, and that makes the betrayal that much worse when Blackness is weaponized in service of white supremacy. But people need to understand this. The Democrat Party is dead. It was buried in Gaza. It will never recover. And all that is happening is that Quentin Quarantino, because that's who you're talking about.
He said it. I ain't say it. He said it.
Quentin Quarantino and the Democratic Socialists of California, CARE Action, the Council on American Islamic Relations political action group, endorsed a genocidal anti-BDS white billionaire Zionist. So understand that every single human being that aligns themselves with a genocidal party is morally tainted in the process. There is no way of recovering from the stain on your soul from affirmatively choosing mass murderers. And so we have to understand that there are going to be people that we like that make a strategic decision to run for a Democrat for this office or that office, and that's all well and good. But the reality is that the Democrats are dead, and any efforts to resuscitate them are resuscitating a morally evil, corrupt, bankrupt.
Go ahead.
What I have in go ahead.
No, go ahead. You go ahead.
Okay, I have. You see all these Republicans saying, "I'm not taking AIPAC." You see some Democrats like, "I won't take AIPAC," but not because they don't want the money, but because they have to compete. The last party in the United States that will legitimately continue supporting Nazis is the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party is going to go down on its shield of defending Nazis, while Republicans, the party that their entire identity is to make look bad, won't take money from them. It's crazy. You brought up Jasmine Crockett earlier. She just endorsed the dude that AIPAC gave $15 million to, who is I'm like, so he's a Republican. He got $15 million from AIPAC.
He's an op. That dude is an op straight up. And what's so crazy is I don't understand. Well, I do. And I had to check somebody online recently. I'm not going to say her name, that's been a part of the chorus space and all these other things that want to act real brand new about all these things. But it's like, we watched this whole time Corey struggle and get ousted out as a Black woman who stood on principle. Like some of us have been supporting Corey from way back or whatever. So I don't understand. I do now, again, but it's really baffling to me to see this commentary about being anti-Black and against Black women when those same people don't seem to be showing out for somebody like a Cori Bush. And they only are doing it now because they have been so exposed. Yes, please post your donation to Cori Bush because you need to.
So I'm going to support, Cori Bush. I've reached out to Cori Bush, but I also just want to draw a clear distinction. And this is going to make
people ask you. Why don't you just run Democrat and change the Democratic Party?
This is going to make me unpopular, but I'm just going to be blunt about this. I don't understand how Jamal Bowman or Cori Bush or Rashida Tlaib can continue to live and exist inside a party that will publicly horsewhip them, right? Seriously,
that's what happened.
That's it. Who will strip them naked in a public square? Look at what the Democrats did to Rashida Tlaib, censoring her for just speaking out for genocide against her people. I don't understand how a party can do that to you, and you do not have enough dignity and self-respect to simply step away from that party.
But do you think it's that, or do you think it's the viability that's raining down on them because of what they've been
I think
told?
it's two things. It's like the proximity to whiteness, aka power structure, but then it's also maybe there's some intention that they're fighting against. That's like, I can get something done.
I still there, and I said this when I had conversations with Oliver Ma about a mutual endorsement. I can be in coalition with somebody that I share vision, goals, and integrity with. If they're not corruptible, if they don't take the money, I can be in coalition with that person. I can accept them making their own separate strategic calculus. They think that the Democrats can either be used or reformed, and I know for sure that they cannot. However, that is something that only history will determine which one of us is right. So we made it separate strategic calculus. I'm actually not talking about that. I'm talking about how, as an individual human being, your own party would do that to you. And then you go running back to that party. That's the part that I can't understand.
I think it's because in the United States, we don't have a viable third party. Like
self-fulfilling prophecy, right?
Exactly.
That's the whole point. If people had enough dignity that they just simply, and it's not to just say no. I will not participate in a party that demeans me.
We're a culture led by abusers, so you can't say no.
Right. Which goes to this ideology that people have about splitting the vote, which I've been making countless videos about, because voting, by definition, when you do the action of it, you're splitting it. And the people that are voting it, I don't understand how they don't know 2 + 2 isn't a million. But then the people that are running are also upholding that ideology. Like, you got to vote for us. It's crazy. It's unbelievable. It's almost like I don't even have words for it. It's comical. It's a skit.
But I think what it is, though, it is us. It is what we are. We are architects of the future, in the sense that it has to be folks who are going to be 10 toes down and say we are building something new.
Right.
Yeah. That's it. We're building something new. We're not.
And based on that 2024 autopsy, we have time to build something new while the DNC is in
speaking of time,
ruins.
Lavish, wait a minute now. Speaking of time, let's all mark this right now. It is May 24th, 2026. The presidential election, is in 2028.
Tell them
what we're doing right now with these positions we're running right now.
Building power. We're building
power. Y'all said, why y'all trying to start this at the presidential level? What about doing other offices? Here we go.
Yep.
We are running these other offices.
Exactly.
This is what we're doing. We need the people to actually believe in their power, because the reality is their power. Butch is still on I'll remove you for a second till your camera comes back. Butch is actually still on the ballot in reality, because the write-in is there. And people do not understand how much of a lever that is for everyone. If everyone wants to get off this ride, pull the lever.
Yeah. And I know a lot of people that are.
I know you guys. I'm going to let you guys wrap up just because my childcare turns back into a pumpkin after this. So I just want to tap out on this and let you guys continue the conversation. But Angelica, what you just said is the key, is that people know that we need to build third-party power, and then we allow ourselves to be gaslit out of actually building it. This is our opportunity inside the most populous, wealthiest state in the union to build a kernel of political power that would accelerate the inevitable demise of the duopoly more rapidly than any other political piece. A win in the state of California, in the governor's race, a win in the state of Texas in a congressional race. Those two things by themselves would actually end Democrat control over minority communities, working class communities. That would be the end of the Democrat Party. And that's the reason that they have taken up all weapons and all arms in order to try to stop it from happening. because they know that this movement is an existential threat to the Democrats. So
Yeah.
the last thing that I'll just say, and I didn't think that I was going to say this on this live, but understand that as soon as they move to knock me off the ballot, you have to understand that if you are that you are now in a state of war, that this is actually a war against your choice. It's a war against you having a non-corporate option. It's a war against you having an anti-genocide option. They are at war with you. And you need to respond with a sense of urgency. You need to contribute and donate to a war chest, because it's going to cost over the next couple years, as we build into 2028, in my race and in Greg's race and in a bunch of other races, it's going to cost millions of dollars to be in and out of court, because they are going to not leave any weapon unfired in their efforts to suppress this movement, because this movement is an existential threat. This movement is the existential threat for the duopoly. There is no other independent political movement that threatens them at the ballot box. And therefore, they are going to turn all of their weapons against us. And we must be prepared to rally the troops. Tens, hundreds of thousands of volunteers nationwide for all of the different candidates that are running green and trying to fight back against this duopoly. We're going to need to donate monthly to the Green Party National, to individual campaigns, to develop the war chest, because these people are not messing around. They are trying to destroy us and make sure that we are never able to step into our power. And we need to take up this moment with a clear-eyed assessment of what the nature of the threat really is, and we need to organize accordingly. I got to bounce out. Love and appreciate you guys. More soon. Yeah, peace.
Blessings.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Lavish, for joining us as well. And you know, anything.
Damn, I don't know. Now I can't hear you. Let me exit. I'll come right back.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah, exit and come right back. But thank you, everybody who has joined this live today to help us disrupt this duopoly, to raise money for the Green Party, because as you know, we're not powered by super PACs. We're not powered by corporations, you know, so we need every bit of support that we can get.
For sure.
You know, so Lavish, is it June 2nd for you guys also?
Yep. It's coming up soon.
All right, so listen, everybody, get your vote out, whether you're in Texas, whether you're in California or any of these other states. Make sure you know who and what you're running for, and make sure you know who is funding the people that you are voting for, because like Dr. Ware says, who funds you runs you, honey. So just make sure y'all tag into that. Thank you, everybody, for joining in on this live. Disrupt the duopoly in your daily life, however you can. Boycott, divest, do all that you can to break this shit up, because I'm gonna tell you what, this shit don't work without us. And now the Dr. Wears off, I threw on a couple of little profanities, you know, because I didn't want to like associate it while he was on the thing. But you know, yes. Anything you want to say before we go, Lavish?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, them taking him off the ballot is the most obvious and direct thing they could have possibly done to validate everything that he just said.
What's so wild about it is people are so misinformed, because they think that it's a situation where he didn't fill out something correctly or whatever. No. They played all kind of games so that actually, when we actually went to court, we could actually prove.
I interviewed him when it happened. It's been widely publicized. People are aware, but once they get taken off the ballot, they just go with the status quo bullshit, and it actually works on these sheeple instead of realizing, oh, damn, they're doing everything in their power to make sure that I can't actually exercise my fucking freedom.
And people still don't see that with that much of an effort of an attack, that they still have a choice.
If I'm not a problem, leave me on. Leave me on the court if I can't hoop.
Just put it on. Just put me right, because you got all those people that were on there, and to come to find out, the very thing that they had accused him of doing, there were other people's who got accepted onto there, who had, you could see they didn't redact their phone.
Rules only apply to
whoever you want them to apply to.
Legit, yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I need you to finish like all my sentences in life. I'll start it, you finish all my sentences. It'll work better for
We can
me.
do that. We can have a show. Yeah, we can do that. Absolutely. Thank you, Lavish, for everything that you're doing now. Using your platform to step off. Just because I know that Well, I mean, maybe you could talk about it more than I can just like kind of just generalize it. But like,
Yeah.
what has the experience been like for you and your platform? From once feeling like something maybe carefree and that you could, just kind of do more, like just, be more involved in like this social stuff to now knowing that you are prioritizing, movement stuff and
Yeah.
things like this.
I mean,
and there's been a shift.
The level of visibility has been there and it just feels normal. But now, especially with the recent organization and documentation that I've been doing in Cuba, we're pending on 40 of us, as well as Hassan Piker and Medea are pending subpoenaed from the Trump
So you're
administration.
included in that subpoena that they're subpoenaing Hassan now?
40 activists that went on this trip, and there was like maybe like 15 of us high profile ones, whatever. And then I just returned and I'm organizing another one. So I mean, all of this is just like an attack on us. Is not really an attack on us. It's an attack on the Cuban people, or it's an attack on Palestinian people, or it's an attack on trans people, attack on black people. It's not really an attack on us. It's just to make sure that no one has these networks. But the way that it shows up in like daily use is feeling like more of a responsibility, as opposed to, like you said, more of something that's lighthearted. I would say that it feels like a job, but sometimes it is like, it's definitely a duty, right? I had like 25,000 followers in like 2019. That account, so it's not brand new. Not that that's a big profile or whatever. Now there's maybe like 500,000 that I have across platforms. So it feels different. The way it's being conducted feels different. And it just is like a responsibility, right? So it's a blessing, though. It's always a privilege that we got to be acknowledged and be grateful for. But yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It is very crazy. I know that my platform, has definitely taken a very serious hit. People say that Meta is always unfollowing, like they have to keep following me, like refollowing me.
Yeah.
Their folks are not. I have 400, almost 450 or 600,000 followers that I just can't reach because the Meta situation. What do you see as like sort of what advice would you give for folks who are trying to use social media for change but can't seem to get past the algorithm?
You gotta literally just do it like you brush your teeth. I make a video like, oh, I'm making a video today. I don't think about it. It just comes to me, because control of our narrative is so important, because if we don't have control of that narrative, they're going to run off with it and tell our stories in the way that they think. They're going to rewrite the history. So it's our responsibility, just like it is for our hygiene, to shower, to brush your teeth, whatever. I just view it the same way. If it lands, it lands. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But I'm not going to not brush my teeth because it wasn't fun or something. You know what I mean? So that's like the kind of the analogy or the comparison.
I like that.
It's like, I'm going to do it either way, because whether we do it or not, they're doing it with trillions of dollars.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Like right now, while I'm talking, there's a Waymo driving over here. What type of data is he collecting while we just doing, what are we doing? Right. So we're always up against these massive systems. And I think Butch mentioned earlier, like around the organization and creation of the event in 2024, we got to be rooted in love and building up systems of empowerment just as much as we are fighting against systems of oppression.
Absolutely.
And for me, a lot of times that looks like just being available to be an expression of spirit, of consciousness, to get our narrative across.
Yeah. Thank you again. We have this last final stretch to go to June 2nd. Sending all of the grace and mercy to you and the whole team with Greg Stoker. Let's keep the lines open. If you need anything, any support, you need me to like push anything out for your candidate, let me know. I'm here to support.
Love you so much.
Love you
Great
too.
to be on here. Talk to you soon.
Thank you so much. Thank you everybody for joining this live stream. I kind of want to continue, but I'm not going to because it's been a long time because, the next time that I do pop onto these internet streets, I'm going to be talking to you all about AI. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh. We're going to be talking about AI because I think that there's a conversation that needs to be had that is not, it's anti-Black, it's ableist. There's a lot of things, and I think that there's a lot of misguided direction when we, talk about really what that's really come behind the introduction of the term carbon footprint, and folks not knowing the history behind that term and why that term even came to be. But basically, there's a very concerted effort to misdirect energy and blame to individuals when it comes to what's killing our planet. All the negative and bad things about AI. What's happening is there's an industrial thing that's happening that's really killing our planet, and the fuel industry is being revamped because of now how much AI is taking up utility energy and stuff like that. So they're being revamped and having a whole new life to their business, and yet they're using this kind of framework as like the carbon footprint to get you folks and get to leftists and folks to be punching each other about what they are and are doing. Are you not recycling? You're using this, you're using that. So again, not to diminish any of the real harms, and all the things, because there are some real harms that AI is creating. And if we cannot create technology without it benefiting the people and the planet, then we shouldn't be doing it in the first place. But I digress. We're not fully going into this conversation right now because I don't have it queued up, and I'm going to do it. That's going to be a separate day. We're going to have that conversation on a separate day. Yes, but it is a conversation that we do need to have. All right. So as I leave you all, before I leave you all, I'm going to leave you with just this video one more time. Just to hopefully inspire you to, instead of choosing the regular, listen, if you want to, you got a choice. You got the red pill, you got the blue pill, or you got the green. We got the green pill. Or you could say, you know what? I just want to stay stupid. I'm not going to take none of it. I don't want to know nothing. I'm going to be ignorant to all the stuff, and that's going to be your choice. But just know that just because you're not doing politics will do you without lube or protection. It will do that, yeah.
After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe about the two-party system. You take the red pill, you stay in Trump land, and he'll show you how deep the fascist rabbit hole goes. But then there's this, the green pill, the choice the system doesn't want you to know exists. It is the way, Neo, the path not funded by corporations and AIPAC. Remember, I'm offering you the truth, nothing more.
What is this place?
This is the construct. It's our loading program. We can load anything we want. You see, Neo, the red feeds your fears. The blue fuels your fantasies, but the green unveils the facts.
What facts?
That together we can build a better future. What you know as politics, Democrats, Republicans, That is the world that has been pulled over your eyes, a simulation of choice designed to keep you from learning the truth.
What truth?
That you are a slave, Neo. Like everyone else, you were born into a system that treats housing as a commodity and healthcare as a luxury. Welcome to the desert of the duopoly.
Isn't this knowledge dangerous? Won't they come after us? Won't they say that we're wasting our votes?
Oh yes, now that you are free, they will target you.
But you're telling me that no matter what they say, a world with single-payer healthcare, with free education, without genocide or ICE is possible.
Yes, Neo, that is the green way.
And that's the path that we must traverse.
Yes, but there is a difference between knowing the path and walking the path. Free your mind.